My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. That's the Ontario International Airport. Stalking by planes, following from, this is what I captured in images, and this is going to coexist with that. Just like they followed from the square last night back to 537 North Euclid Avenue, following from 537 North Euclid Avenue, stalking my path, going south in the direction with planes, gang stalking with what is Starbucks, particularly Sal, I believe, or Saul is his name. He drives a white Expedition or Navigator. The entire Starbucks is monitoring, but he set himself outside to be in relevant position while the entity flew over by planes. And the entity is doing so flying over UNICARE Community Health Center at E Street and Euclid. And then you have Leonida Builders LLC or Leonida Builders Inc. gang stalking, creating light activity along with the demons along Euclid Avenue. The ARCO, the Starbucks, the Chevron, as I go inside of Chevron and I'm being targeted there, and the entity is surrounding with stalking with light. This is what the entity is doing, which I took a picture of here. This is the demon over here stalking with light at the OVITT Family Community Library. And you know that that's a demon when they're engaging in landscaping outside of the side of the OVITT Family Community Library. I'm inside showing you engineered light that's spreading about like a fan of light, impossible light, where all the demons are pacing around. They're stalking with light, and that's pacing. While the Ontario International Airport, you have what is Julia Gu, Jim Bowman, Kurt Hagman, Alan D. Wapner, and Ronald Loveridge, who are being documented engaging in ongoing targeting, stalking as the terrorists of the board and the executive team that are engaged. This is documentation of them stalking with the whole airport, and every airline is sharing in that, and so are the people of the state, the businesses, and the population that's stalking in the path and engaging in landscaping and stalking in the path. This is P.O.C. It's currently 7:21 a.m. This is the Ontario Town Square, stalking from 537 on Euclid Avenue to what is the Ontario Town Square, one plane after another in the direction that I'm walking, which is south to this location. And covering up the fake sun is speaking to what is evidence you know that they're doing, stalking me as an entity, but they're also doing so while they're inside of the downtown Ontario luxury apartment, stalking with light. So that's what they're doing, maintaining light in my path while the planes are flying over me repeatedly as I'm walking to this destination. This is P.O.C. It is Monday, October 6, 2025, and this is the P.O.C. This is documentation of how the entity is engaging in gang stalking today. It is ceaselessly underway. The entity is engaged in what is always failing at getting out of the pattern of conduct that's already established. So that's basically covering up the fake sun versus not covering up the fake sun. If I stay in the city, they'll show the fake sun. If I, as of late, threatening to go outside of the city, covering up the fake sun. So this is, it's not the natural weather, as you've witnessed, as you're learning, and it is pathetic as you're witnessing the demon-possessed and the whole purpose of their existence and their consumption with their time and energy, resources, money, everything. So the entity is covering up the fake sun today. The evidence has already established that in the city of Ontario, specifically on Euclid Avenue, the fake sun rises and sets over me. The fake sun moves north and south along that Euclid Avenue. And then when I go down streets like G Street and Hope Boulevard, and then when I go venture outside of the city, you have what is a fake sun moving in all manner of direction through the window of public transportation, for example. So, which is what I documented yesterday as I traveled from city to city, and the entity engaged in what is keeping a fake sun for the entirety of those bus routes, exposing federal group stalking and monitoring on the roads and the highways, which is already established. And going over documentation, the proof of the city of Montclair, the city of Pomona, the city of Fontana, the city of Upland that are already on the record documented targeting before 2025. Nonetheless, the entity is covering up the fake sun this morning, and the purpose of what demons are doing when they're monitoring, they are engaging in psychopathic conduct, and some method of light is coexisting with what is their presence, and their presence is criminal because the government is engaging in surveillance, and the government is also severely mentally sick while they're engaging in surveillance by being demon-possessed monitoring. Okay, and then the government is also using technology in order to keep you under surveillance as well. So monitoring at Wells Fargo, I'm going to go ahead and read these license plates. The video you just listened to is what the entity is engaging in, following me, stalking with commercial planes to the location where I'm at, where the entity is maintaining plane activity over the venue, and it is acting in concert with gang stalking venues, including Wells Fargo, the Downtown Luxury Ontario Apartments, ARCO, Chevron, Starbucks, the UNICARE Community Health Center, Mule Car Smokehouse, where demons are engaging in what are stalking around the venue with light activity. KNYKID2, 9MHN922, and the demons that I'm capturing by license plate. They are engaging in that pattern of conduct together in concert with the city of Ontario, and this is under the guise of being a patron, under the guise of being an employee, and it's the pattern of conduct. And you are aware of that because
The entity has the fake sun over Wells Fargo, like I documented yesterday at 11 o'clock in the morning. After following me throughout the cities, multiple cities, remaining over me as I am coming across again Wells Fargo, where I'm present at Wells Fargo at 7 in the morning, where the entity is gang stalking at the same intersection where demons are working for a corrupt company that's violating your privacy rights and monitoring you. Wells Fargo is a corrupt company, and that's why they're gang stalking me, and so are all their demon-possessed employees and their demon-possessed customers who are using presence in the path, going to the ATM, presence in the path, parking in the parking lot, presence in the path, stalking, engaging in what is just surveillance, not even necessarily being a patron, just standing around, which is how an entity is gang stalking you in the first place. But it's happening under the guise of corrupt businesses, which is speaking to how you're going to prosecute. 7Z13092. These are demons that are crossing path one after another, and this is as I begin recording right now. Before, what they're doing is stalking in a manner that was supposed to be inconspicuous. The bright view is gang stalking the landscaper. That's audible noise pacing all around, and the demons are using commercial planes flying repeatedly over the Ontario Town Square. I did capture that with screenshots. You'll see the Securitas employee. He is stalking in the path at Ontario Town Square, which is a crime scene where the fake sun is already documented rising and setting. Departing from this venue where it's rising and setting, as I go to Pomona, California, Fontana, California, Montclair, California, Upland, California, and in Chino, California, and the entity is keeping a fake sun over me, where Securitas is also fully exposed as being a gang stalker and doing so under the guise of being an employee at a crime scene where the government doesn't have any warrant or probable cause to maliciously and covertly keep you under surveillance, and an inhumane means as well. Maliciously as a as an entity that's engaging in public corruption, and also in a psychopathic manner where demons are monitoring you, because that's what the United States government is doing through businesses like Wells Fargo, Securitas, Mule Car Smokehouse, where demons are parked outside of that. Demons are parked outside of that venue, aiming light. How can I help you? Okay. Anyway, the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct by what is maintaining light. This is what's inside of the parking garage. Those are demons aiming light in the parking garage of the downtown luxury Ontario apartments. While, again, everything is given context as well, there are no pilots that are taken off pursuant to the schedule that is published on the website for the Ontario International Airport, number one. And number two, that which is published on the website is distinct from what the entity is doing to me in the city of Ontario, necessarily flying miles away from that airport to then engage in what is hovering. And as you observe, you can audibly observe, and as you visibly observe, there is no takeoff that has occurred yet, meaning the entity is maintaining a lowered elevation flying over this venue, which is miles away from the airport, whereas pilots that are taking off in the sky space at that airport. Again, like I stated, this is very basic, very rudimentary. The entity is engaged in clear targeting as they are flying in all manner of direction, flying in all manner of locations where I'm at, doing so at the 60 freeway, hovering over my hotel room at the Economy Inn. Not just the fact that you're targeting by clearly no takeoff is happening miles away from the Ontario International Airport when you're supposed to be taking off over that sky space, which is a sharp incline into the sky space where if you've been on a plane, you can see the aerial view and you are very high up. This is not what the entity is doing. They're maintaining elevation as though they're taking off over the elderly senior citizen complex right here at the Ontario Town Square, which makes absolutely no sense. This is the entity that's engaging in that same conduct where they're flying over the grocery outlet over my hotel room at Economy Inn, which is nearest the 60 freeway. And then they engage in what are making U-turns. That has nothing to do with a flight that's continuing from an airport that would have already been at an elevation where it would not be disturbing me in my hotel room, such that I wouldn't know that a plane was over for me to step outside and get that ongoing public nuisance inside of my hotel room, which is replete with the fake sun over my hotel room, over everyone else's, over every other location, which is also how, again, you know that the demon is a Securitas employee who is gang stalking maliciously with the government. Maintaining plane activity is the integral aspect regarding criminal monitoring in the city of Ontario, using the airport to engage in psychological torture, harassment as an entity, domestic terrorism as an entity, because you're talking about what is beyond harassment when you're stalking with planes and when you're stalking in concert with the population. You're talking about terrorizing someone, and these are terrorists that are homegrown. This is domestic terrorism, and the Ontario International Airport is key to that. That's why you're looking at the Ontario International Airport engaged in all of the pattern of conduct at every venue that I'm at in Ontario. But that is not commensurate with what an airport is engaging in legitimately, because it's not going to be creating a public nuisance everywhere in the city of Ontario. They're not going to be hovering over every apartment complex. There are zoning laws, there are nuisance laws, there are agreements that they engage in with the city with regard to legitimate business practices. Of course, the City of Ontario and the Ontario International Airport have an agreement to engage in terrorism, and that's why they're engaging in that conduct together in concert with what is also heavily documented, and the history of evidence will show. The Ontario International Airport is targeting me with the Ontario Police Department, where you will see that ongoing cooperative act of harassment and terrorism and psychological torture and kidnapping. All right, and that also includes sexual violence. The entity is stalking my commercial planes while predators are stalking in bathrooms and keeping my vagina under surveillance. And this is, again, what the Ontario International Airport is going to be shut down for. This is a domestic terrorist that's engaging in violence with the public, with the civilian population, engaging in criminal stalking with a population, and engaging in public corruption with that population. And that includes businesses like Mule Car Smokehouse. Never mind the fact that the business may be closed right now. The people of the state are stalking in the path, and Mule Car Smokehouse is absolutely liable for that. They are getting stalking when the establishment is open, and it is still open and available for criminal purposes, while the people of the state are stalking on Euclid Avenue, maintaining a method of light. Just like when I'm at walking by, or when I'm at the Ontario Town Square and they are driving by and the fake sun's over me and they're driving on Euclid Avenue, or they're parked in front of Mule Car Smokehouse, that is also an iteration of stalking with light. Just like when I am seated at the Ontario Town Square and a demon is driving by and impossible light is shooting across me at this distance, that's an iteration of stalking with light. They're doing the same thing while the fake sun is covered up, and demons are engaging in surveillance, and they are aware that I observe them, so they immediately drive off, which is crossing path and light activity, and the demons of the Ontario International Airport, acting in sync, are engaging in what is, again, stalking at the Ontario Town Square using commercial planes. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct, and you're looking at the identical elements of monitoring. The pattern of conduct does not ever change. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and you're looking at the iterations of that same criminal system, and it is ceaselessly underway. So the entity that's engaging in surveillance at the Ontario Town Square is doing so. This is the entity that does so committing kidnapping, accusing me of harassing them. When they are engaged in harassment, they're engaged in terrorism, and all the demons that are engaged in surveillance, that's subject to federal prison, and they are routinely documented engaging in surveillance at the Ontario Town Square. And on September 28, 2025, they committed kidnapping together because they don't want to be documented as stalking me with the government when you're stalking me with the government. And then you're making up information, and this is also why you document a corrupt government, because that's exactly what the government will do. And they do that to people that don't have evidence, that don't have documentation, that don't have the skill set, that aren't prepared for that type of corruption, because that's what that is. That's not just making up a lie, which it's totally inappropriate for the police to engage in that, but that's what they're doing because they're not dealing with a criminal at that. So you're blatantly just engaging in what is battering me. You're blatantly just engaging in what is harassing and making up lies about me in order for you to, again, make up an excuse to be in my presence. It's also an example of what is obsession. All right. The demons of the Ontario Police are very much obsessed with me, and so are the demons who are the people of the state. That's why they're engaging in surveillance at the Ontario Town Square, not engaging in what is enjoying the Ontario Town Square for some. They're all under the fake sun. You're looking at what is public corruption. These are psychopaths that are stalking together, and that is also entirely corrupt when you have a business that's actually focused on criminal surveillance as opposed to banking. And Wells Fargo is engaged in what are a violation of federal laws while they're engaging in criminal surveillance. Remember, they're monitoring pursuant to what is public information. Everything that's discussed, everything that is occurring is public information. As I go into Wells Fargo, guess what's happening in the bathroom? Bathroom monitoring, which is speaking to what everyone knows, including the demons of the Ontario International Airport, the Ontario Police, the Ontario Fire, the demon that's pacing around at Securitas, the demons that are engaging in surveillance at the Ontario Town Square. They are jointly aware of everything that's happening. And this is letting you know about the violation of privacy by corrupt bankers like Wells Fargo. And that's already established as a matter of evidence because I've documented Chase Bank, and what Chase Bank is doing, Wells Fargo is doing, Bank of America is doing. All of these bankers are engaging in that same pattern of conduct. That's how I'm able to capture what is supernatural, meaning exceptional, as a matter of a systematic pattern of conduct. It's impossible that it happened one time, and I've captured it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Okay, so throughout my discussion right now, demons getting in position, that includes the demons that arrive parking at the parking lot, the demons that arrive sitting at the Ontario Town Square, as I'm documenting what they sought to engage in by engaging in surveillance around the perimeter, stalking with plane after plane, covering up the fake sun and the planes hiding underneath the clouds. So the video that you listened to, that amplified audible activity, has nothing, that is evidence of stalking in and of itself, because none of that audible noise is going to occur from a takeoff that is appropriately handled and accomplished at the airport, and you are miles away creating that level of audible noise over me. And then you're also doing it by trying to cover up the planes, because this is not the natural weather. That's how you're getting to the intent behind every aspect of the documented pattern of conduct. And I want to be clear, the entities engaging in this, while Brightview is engaging in criminal monitoring, I documented them in that video that you just listened to. They're engaging in pacing, they're stalking. Holding a windblower is stalking. It's also audible activity, and this is an entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct at what is a crime scene. Ontario Town Square is the crime scene where the government's engaging in criminal surveillance in concert with the people of the state. And as I am in Pomona, as I'm in Fontana, Montclair, Chino, the same pattern of conduct is underway by the entirety of the state of California. And that's exhibited. When I go from city to city, you see that that pattern of conduct remains underway. I am in Ontario, at the Ontario Town Square, documenting the state of California in order to prosecute the U.S. government. And that's what the entity is doing as one. Monitoring my vagina is a sex offense, a federal one committed by the U.S. government, for which I'm going to prosecute civilly and criminally, including companies that are stalking in relevant positions. Saris Regis is a company. They're engaged in residential property management. They're actually engaged in what is domestic terrorism and psychological torture, criminal surveillance. And that's malicious for them to engage in maintaining a residential property while they're engaged in gang stalking, because that's what their residents are doing, and that's what the personnel are engaging in. And that crime scene is literally that apartment building, and that's why I've documented the fake sun from sunrise until sunset. Okay, I've also documented the entity gang stalking by helicopter. I've also documented the entity gang stalking by commercial planes. And the entities engaging in that while they are keeping all that evidence under surveillance, and the evidence of that is the presence of the Ontario police in the same location where the people of the state were gang stalking at Mule Car Smokehouse. I'm gonna go ahead and take a picture of that, because that's what they're doing. When they're stalking with the Ontario International Airport, that's exactly what the people of the state are doing. And as I observe it, the demon drives off, a plane flies over, and this is the entity that's engaging in gang stalking with the people of the state. Vivanco and Joseph Valencia and Durham, they're all going to federal prison. They're engaged in kidnapping, and the Ontario Police Department are stalking as an agency, just like you're witnessing on X, and like I'm publishing on the venue of the internet on a daily basis, stalking me by helicopter at the Ontario Town Square after I went to the city of Fontana, the city of Pomona, the city of Chino, the city of Upland, and that fake sun is engaged in a grand departure from remaining over the Ontario Town Square, where the Ontario Police Department are gang stalking all morning under a fake sun that remains stationary. Now, as I'm documenting, the entity is engaging what is taking position. Let me read you these license plates. Federal prison, vehicle 1049, that's a female, license 1614298, vehicle 1119, license 1697636, and they're gang stalking at Mule Car Smokehouse, just like the people of the state. All right, and they're engaging, the only difference is that those demons are in police vehicles. And guess what? The demons that are engaging in surveillance at the Ontario Town Square are stalking with the police. That's federal prison. They're engaging in that conduct on behalf of the police, not wearing a police uniform, and that's supposed to be the guise under which they're above suspicion, meaning they're not doing anything because they're not wearing police uniforms, and not only not doing anything, that they are, as private citizens, exercising the same rights of the target individual that they're gang stalking with the police. And those are all false premises, and it's malice of the entity that's engaging in kidnapping in this same manner, lying together as an entity, stating that there's harassment when there is none. And also, when you're documenting them gang stalking you further into murder, that's not harassment. That's the entity engaging in obstruction of justice. Those two demons are engaged. Those two demons that are operating the Ontario police vehicles. This is while I begin my discussion right now, and this is what is occurring. That's ongoing confirmation about, even though I don't need it, but that's ongoing confirmation of exactly what the Ontario International Airport has been doing. And as I begin documenting and recording right now, the entities engaging in what is assimilation. So now they're engaging what is these demons taking position at the square, those demons taking position parking inside of the Wells Fargo parking lot, and the demons taking position, that's a communication of a threat, where the people of the state are gang stalking by engaging in surveillance parking in front of the closed down Mule Car Smokehouse. It's not open right now. And they're engaged in what is stalking with light. That's surrounding the perimeter with a method of light. They're doing so at the Wells Fargo entrance as well, under the guise of, oh, I'm going in to take out money, I'm going to the ATM. It doesn't matter what your excuse is. It doesn't matter. If you're going there and delivering, like I stated, puppy dogs or donuts, you're stalking with light. They're leaving their hazard lights on. They're stalking and they're parking and they're going back and forth. They're pacing. These are demons that are doing so, as you are very much clearly aware of it, under a fake sun. The fake sun is over the Ontario Police Department at 9:16 in the morning. Nobody's forgot about that. That's impossible to be the natural environment when they're stalking me in Fontana, which is proven by that fake sun being over me in the city of Fontana at 9:30 over the Fontana Police Department. That is not happening at the same time. And the sun, as you've seen, that's remaining at the Ontario Town Square from sunrise until sunset. That's evidence that I could pull up right now and demonstrate. The entities, and it's evidence that you can access, the entities engaging what is having a fake sun over the Fontana Police Department in Fontana and over the Ontario Police Department in Ontario off of the 60 freeway, when the entities engaging in what is not moving a fake sun all day long at one property like the Ontario Town Square, where that agency is stalking while they're listening to me give detailed discussion right now, and these demons begin changing their strategy. So now you have the demons that are engaging in what is sitting right here on the benches as I begin discussing their criminal tactics regarding the same exact pattern of conduct. Okay, that's P.O.C. The entity is engaging in this, like I documented last night, with immigrants. Those that have a disdain for this country and for your right to not be subject to terrorism. And also they have an attitude of haughtiness because of gang stalking with corrupt police departments like the Ontario Police, who engage in terrorizing you while you're enforcing your rights. Again, the Ontario Police represent the enemies of the United States, and so are the demon-possessed gang stalkers who are homegrown and those that have been granted a privilege to be here. And they are incentivized. They are motivated. They are indoctrinated with targeting and then being hostile to the notion of not targeting somebody and being subject to justice for it. That's exactly what needs to be deported and what shall be deported from the United States. And the source of the issue is corrupt terrorist organizations like Mike LORENZ and the Ontario Police Department that are being disbanded for stalking, just like I'm documenting these demons doing, using police vehicles, like I'm documenting them doing, using helicopters under a fake sun. You can look at what I'm publishing while I'm uploading the evidence of license plates. What is the entity doing at 1:30 in the afternoon at this Ontario Town Square? When you're not forgetting that I'm here on October 1st, 2025, and the entity has a fake sun early in the morning. All right, so what is remaining over the one address from approximately 7 to 1 o'clock in the morning, because it's not the natural environment? And what is in Florida if the sun is sitting over one property all day long in Ontario, California on the West Coast? That's not the same sun, and there's only one sun. This is an entity that's engaging in stalking, and it's very obvious stalking, and it's also very obvious stalking of myself because the entity has a tendency to follow me around from place to place in helicopters, to engage in stalking in helicopters and in police vehicles as I begin speaking things that they're very fearful of, that they're triggered by, okay, that they're intimidated with. All right, that's when they start engaging in that conduct, and I'm documenting it because they're going to prison and they're going to be disbanded, and they are actually enemies of the United States. This is why they're targeting American citizens with immigrants. This is why immigrants are in this country and hostile to American citizens who enforce their rights against terrorism committed by them and a corrupt government. This is why they're engaging in terrorism with corrupt businesses. This is why they're engaged in public corruption. This is why they're engaged in what is lying about the reason why they are violating your rights in the first place, because under all circumstances, it's gang stalking. So your reason for gang stalking, is because somebody said that, and you don't know who this person is, or you're not going to reveal it's an anonymous person, and then it evolves into, it was the security guard. And the security guard that I never had a conversation with, that there was never any encounter, and there was no encounter with any other person, except for the fact that demons that are keeping their back to me are aware that their picture is being taken. And by the way, so what? They're engaged, it's freedom of speech. This is public property. You don't have any reasonable expectation of privacy, but you don't have a right to engage in gang stalking, which is what the government is doing through them. And now the entity is engaging in that conduct, and it's not freedom of speech for the entity to engage in stalking you at any location. This is a facility facilitating venue. So you're at the crime scene engaging in conduct which is not protected under the Constitution. And moreover, in your alternate universe, where I am, first of all, exercising freedom of speech, and you are excited and enthusiastic about trying to find a way to violate that, which you don't have any basis under the law when you're acting like you're not gang stalking me and you're just dealing with an accusation of harassment, which didn't happen. You don't even have the facts to support it, and you can't tell me who said it, and you can't tell me about any details about it because you're making it up. And second of all, it would be freedom of speech on public property. This is when, again, outside of prosecuting them for the reality of what they're engaging in. They're engaged in terrorism. They're engaged in targeting. And the entity, which is what the people of the state are, don't have any privacy rights. They're engaged in criminal monitoring. They're targeting with the government that's stalking by planes at this property, that's stalking by helicopter, the public nuisance, the harassment, the targeting, and they're doing so as that entity together, and they're also doing so while they're aware of the fact that it's being documented. That's speaking to the stalker that is maniacal. That's speaking to the stalker that is obsessed, that will not stop until they accomplish murder. That's an unlawful threat posed by the government. That's speaking to the entity that then commits what are blatant lies that, of course, I document, and you're making up information as to why you're in my presence in the first place. I want to be clear, that's also evidence that they're gang stalking, because why are you making up information about stuff that didn't happen? Why? Oh, maybe it's because you know that I'm documenting, and if I'm documenting something that you're not guilty of and you're not innocent, why are you making up lies as to being in my presence in the first place? Why such an extreme tactic? And this is also a documented pattern, making up that I am some sort of child molester, when you're the one engaging in what is pedophilia. You're the one that's engaged in sex trafficking. Oh, you're the one that's engaged in monitoring my vagina in the bathroom when you make up those very specific and extreme allegations that, again, there's no evidence supporting, however, and I am conducting my own investigation, prosecuting and proving that you made that up at the outset. There's a pattern of them making up information. That's the same agency stalking at the Mule Car Smokehouse at 200 North Euclid Avenue, while I begin this discussion this morning, doing the exact same thing that the people of the state are doing, stalking in the path with light activity, stalking in the path and targeting me while the entity is doing so with commercial planes. Ronald Leverage, Kurt Hagman, Jim Bowman, Alan D. Wapner, and Julia Gu. These are demons. These are terrorists on a so-called Ontario board. It's not an Ontario board. It is a misnomer. It's deceptive. They are engaged in terrorism, and they're engaged in what is ongoing criminal monitoring, which is stalking, surveillance by the government. And the entities engaging in this clearly proven through the targeting conduct by every airline that's targeting at this venue, which is proven to be the specific environment. And it's also prosecuting that board and that airport in the city of Ontario as I go into different cities, and you're looking at that crime scene move with me, meaning it's departing. It's not simultaneously staying at the Ontario Town Square. That's also letting you know that Julia Gu and Jim Bowman and Kurt Hagman and Alan D. Wapner Kurt Hagman are engaged in targeting on what is a corrupt board. This is where the entity is clearly targeting with the very heavily documented kidnappers of the Ontario Police, and the Ontario board are sharing in every kidnapping while the entity is targeting with airlines, okay? It's 8:53 a.m. where the entity is engaging in this conduct with the people of the state that are engaging in surveillance across the street at the Herradura de Oro, criminal presence in the path. These are demons that are maintaining presence representing communication devices, and this is surveillance committed by demons, by the way. But these are demons that you're looking at in the physical. They have demonic spirits on them. They're psychopaths, they're sex offenders, and they're also obsessed with me, and that's because of their condition. They are demon possessed. But their criminal conduct is presence in the path, and what is on behalf of the government that doesn't have a warrant or probable cause to engage in that, and they're doing it in concert with the city of Ontario. Maintaining the commercial flights over Ontario Town Square is the direct evidence of targeting. There are no plane takeoffs and there are no arrivals, and there's also none over Economy Inn. There's also none when you're doing U-turns over the parking lot over my head and over my hotel room. There's also none when you're doing the same thing over the Ramada by Wyndham when I'm at that hotel room nearest the 10 freeway, when I'm over the Stater Brothers parking lot and you're engaging in hovering over that parking lot, when I'm in the city of Fontana and the entity is at that distance as though they're landing from the city of Fontana, when they're engaging in what is stalking in the path. This is the entity that's engaging in what is maintaining surveillance in alignment to me, doing so using commercial planes, all means of identifying targeting. All right, so the entity is engaging in that, and pay attention, rewind the tape back, because what I want you to listen to is look at the time when I begin referring to the Ontario board, and that's when you will hear the entity begin sounding plane activity as hostile demons, listening to every word that I'm documenting, capturing regarding prosecuting the demon possessed that are engaged in gang stalking through a corrupt airport that's going to be shut down for terrorism and conspiracy to commit murder, while while targeting me and using the business of that, using corrupt business practices of a whole airport to target me with a population that is acting in concert to it and a corrupt police department. That airport is being shut down, but you're going to pay attention the moment that I begin discussing that. That's when the entity sounds plain activity. Okay, that's relevant. The entity is doing the same thing. Stalking that mule cart, you're stalking in the path. That's what the Ontario police are doing. They're stalking in the path. They're stalking in the path right now. They were conspicuously stalking in the path at the mule car smokehouse, just like the people of the state are. They'll just stop on the side of the road, keeping their headlights on, stop on the side of the road, turn their hazard lights on, stop on the side of the road, put a turn signal on, stop on the side of the road, put their reverse lights on, stop on the side of the road and just keep their foot on the brake, stop on the side of the road and have their lights off while the demon-possessed people of the state are maintaining light activity while they drive by. They're engaging in stalking in the path. It's a method of surveillance, and they're doing so while they are engaging in monitoring with the demons that are maintaining flight over the Ontario Town Square. And they're doing so as I am arriving at the Ontario Town Square and remaining here. This is why when I'm at 537 North Euclid Avenue, and the image that I captured, you're looking at the demons that are stalking with the entity maintaining aerial surveillance where I'm going in Ontario. So that's the significance of stalking by plane. Only where I'm located. There are no planes that are hovering in the city of Ontario over the CHEVRON in the ARCO. Right now, while I am north of those locations, the entity is maintaining presence south of me, and by south of me, I mean very close to where I'm located. That's why when I leave the Ontario Town Square, like I captured last night, the fake moon is over the Ontario Town Square, and I walk north to the CHEVRON, where the people of the state are stalking in the path. They're stalking from place to place every step that I go, and they do that in bathrooms as well. And the entity is stalking at the CHEVRON, no longer flying over the Ontario Town Square, flight after flight. They're now flying over the Lemon Avenue, the ARCO, which is south of my person while I'm walking out of CHEVRON. And there are no flights that are taking off from the airport when you're hovering over Lemon Avenue as though you're taking off, and that is asinine. But this is what the entity is doing, and I take pictures of it, and they're doing it timed. As I walk out of the CHEVRON, I'm showing you demons that are stalking inside of a little market. They're inside of CHEVRON, and CHEVRON is gang stalking. The business is gang stalking, the employees are gang stalking, and the demons that are walking in, keeping me surrounded at all times and at all places are gang stalking. And these are demons that engage in this sort of obsessive stalking, and their concern is everything concerning me, not just where I'm doing and not just where I'm going and what I'm doing. Yes, they are physically stalking, but they're engaged in monitoring. These are demons that are hovering in the spirit. These are demons that are practicing what is failed witchcraft. And these are demons that have sacrificed themselves in doing so. And that's relevant to this psychopathic level of stalking that you're seeing even underway through the expenditure of what would be millions of dollars using commercial airline planes to follow me around, to stalk me day and night. All right, the entity is maintaining a corrupt business, and this is criminal with regard to Paul Leon, with regard to Alan D. WAPNER, the Ontario Airport Board. It's investment in criminal activity, investment in what is public corruption, and doing so as a means of seeking to murder a specific person because of what the entity intends to gain. And this is relevant not only just to money and property, but it's relevant with regard to these are demons, and they want to sacrifice somebody that's not of their condition. Understand, this is very much witchcraft. Okay, but they're not accomplishing that, and now they've never been prosecuted before, so now the demons are engaging in they're still engaging in that, and I'm documenting it, and they're going to be judged in the physical. That's a prosecution, but they're also going to be judged with regard to what is a failed sacrifice. Now, I'm not into witchcraft, but what I do know is when you send death spirits, those death spirits are going to execute, but it's just not going to execute against me. Okay, so you have demons that are still engaging in that criminal conduct, and I'm mostly focusing on the pattern of conduct as it is established by tangible evidence. And this is an entity, and this is the explanation behind corrupt businesses. Every business in Ontario is associated with this demonic practice. Every household, every resident, every person, even transients that are coming through the city of Ontario, these are demons that are together associated, engaging in this conduct together, and they're doing so with your knowledge, proof to you, your knowledge of the truth of what it is that I'm describing is the fact that a fake sun remains over me, while all of these demon-possessed people, regardless of the ways in which they're maintaining presence, meaning I'm landscaping, I'm blowing leaves around, I'm painting the sidewalk over here, I'm digging up the sidewalk because I've got business with, I'm wearing a hard hat and I've got my company vehicle over here, and I'm just a bum. I'm sitting over here on my bike waiting for the bus to come. I'm over here with my children and I'm playing dodgeball with them in the park. I am maintaining what is an investigation as a police department. We're investigating a robbery across the street. They're all under the fake sun that's over me. They're all demons that are actually targeting me. And with regard to the greater pattern of conduct, that's how you're recognizing the malice of demons that are only relying on the way that things look on the surface. And you are looking beyond the surface, and you're looking at what is the supernatural environment where demons are keeping, if you will, eyes in the back of their head on that targeted individual, while they are aware that people are looking only at the surface, typically, and not paying attention to details. And those details are crucial with regard to recognizing targeting. Targeting that's committed only in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. Okay, you don't have this level of malice, this level of corruption, this level of criminal expenditure and investment and time because they just want to annoy you for a little bit and then leave you alone. Okay, that's not the point of what they're engaging in. The entities engaging in this, and they're doing so while they are committing what is a joint act of seeking to sacrifice someone that's not like them. They're, if you will, if you think about, and this is all I'm going to say about that, but it's akin to what is an unfortunately deceptive, because it's made for entertainment, even though I don't find sucking blood very entertaining at all. It's very dark. But anyway, something like Dracula or vampires that are sucking your blood, and they need to suck your blood or bite your neck or whatever in order to survive. This is relevant to what the demon-possessed are doing with regard to seeking out sacrifices, people that they can kill off. And the government is doing it with regard to a means whereby they can do so. And that crime against an American citizen is just absorbed. It's absorbed and dissolved away, so nobody knows what actually happened to that person. And it is essentially where an entity is seeking to suck the life out of a person spiritually, and also in order to do so, whatever benefits that person has. So it could be somebody that has a lot of money, it could be somebody that has property, it could be somebody, it could be a child. It could be a child that is special and unique in one way or another, or just young and innocent, period. And the demon-possessed are interested in taking the life of that child. That's a sacrifice unto the demon-possessed, unto Satan. That's what they're sacrificing to, and this is a life source for them. And this is absolutely demonic, and it is referred to as a sacrifice. This is what an entity is doing for multiple purposes, but the underlying purpose is that they're demons, and they engage in what are sacrificing people for their own survival. These are people that are actually dead. These are not normal human beings. These are actually demons. This is the Nephilim. Okay, and they put people, if you will, on on a stake in order to take their lives, and that is spiritually feeding them, causing them to be able to survive, much like Dracula sucking your blood, needs to suck your blood in order to survive. So like I said, that's getting into the spiritual aspect of what the demon-possessed are doing, this level of obsession. Where does it come from? Why? That doesn't make any sense. And to be honest with you, I don't practice witchcraft either, and I'm deliberately not going to go in that because the Lord hasn't called me to do that. But He did let me know that these are demons, and that their focus on me is based on the fact that I am not of that condition whatsoever. That's also why they're obsessed with me. You know this because you have strangers that are stalking me, people that I never met. That's how you know that they're demons. Okay, there's just common sense aspects where you're also aware that what is it about me that's causing you to target me in conformity to a pattern of conduct, and we've never even met. All right, it's beyond what is a government maintaining some sort of secret communication, some sort of secret group. They don't have to have a conversation or a chat group. These are demons. You're dealing with the spiritual realm. Okay, so these demons are engaging in targeting together with regard to what Satan is engaging in. These are the demon-possessed for real. These are the demon-possessed that are addressed in holy scriptures. The scripture that says that spirits have laid down with human beings, and this is them. They are referred to as the Nephilim, and they are here by the millions. They're here. They're filling the city of Ontario, the state of California. Okay, I am the exception, and because I am the exception, that's why I'm being targeted. And that's letting you know with regard to pure numerosity. And this is not new. This has been the case. I am just the one that is exposing it, because not only because most have succumbed to it, but because I am equipped to do so. And I'm also not going to, there's nothing that I'm not scared of a demon that's wearing a police uniform. That's Satan playing dress up. Okay, that's Satan that wants to feel powerful. And this is why I openly document in the way that I do, because you're not powerful when you have to lie. You're not powerful and you don't garner any respect or authority when you have to make up information. And it's antithetical to the role that this demon that's wearing a police uniform, a costume, is wearing, but you have to make up information. You're sitting around stalking somebody. You're not an authoritative figure. You're stalking. It's pathetic, okay? And they're doing that by the millions. And they're doing that as demons. And they're doing that in order to sacrifice. That is murder. That is take the life, the essence of someone. They want that person dead, but understand that they are gaining something spiritually in the demise of that innocent person. And innocent insofar as a sacrifice that has not been consumed by Satan, meaning that's what they need. These people are dead. Okay, this is, and the reality that they're demons, this impossible light activity. They're engaging in supernatural conduct in front of you. The impossible light activity. You're driving your car and impossible light is swiping across the sidewalk. And I'll go ahead and give you another example of that so that you can be reminded about that. It has nothing to do with sunlight. These are, in fact, demons that are filling, consuming these people. This is the Nephilim, and the way in which they're even monitoring me is letting you know that they are demons, that you're not dealing with human beings. This is spiritual. I am, as a federal prosecutor, prosecuting with tangible evidence, which is what you need to do in a courtroom. But this is spiritual. These are demons, and this is also why the government is engaging in it, because of the nature of what they are, and the entity surmised that no one would ever be able to prove or even accuse outside of being defamed in the first place. If you make any sort of allegations against somebody targeting you, who's targeting you? They don't even know you. And not only that, they try to diminish your worth. Who are you for the government to be targeting you? These are all the tactics of the demons that are very much engaged in targeting American citizens. And they target you because you are very much key. You are very important, especially those that know Christ Jesus. Especially those that are going to come to Christ Jesus. You are viewed as a vulnerable spiritual source, and they want to suck the life out of you. Sucking the life out of you includes stalking you. That includes emotionally and psychologically exhausting you. That includes harassing you, getting you into fits of them. When I documented on September 28, 2025, when this entity committed kidnapping, remember what I exposed that day. This is the entity that has sentenced itself to death because they refuse to repent. They've sentenced themselves to death. This witchcraft, the spirit of poverty, the spirit of death, the spirit of mental illness, that's all going back toward them. They've sacrificed themselves, their children, their well-being. They've sacrificed their future. This is the reality. They've brought a spirit of sickness on themselves. This is everything that they tried to attack me with, and it's not touching me. And glory to God. That's Christ Jesus, who is shielding me. And he did so in order that I would speak to the reality of what is going on. Okay, but I want to be clear, that's all ricocheting back to them, and that's a form of judgment. It is also judgment that I'm prosecuting Satan in a courtroom with tangible evidence in order that people that would never walk into a church, and honestly in California, I don't even blame you, but that doesn't mean that his church doesn't exist. It does. You're getting outside of what is the, thinking outside of the box. His church is not a building. We make up the church. We are the temple. We harbor his Holy Spirit. Okay, so I want to be clear, the entity that's engaging, those that walk with Christ, those that actually know him, are not necessarily gathering in buildings where a bunch of demons are congregating in order to see who they can suck the life out of while they're playing with the name of God, which is to their own demise. I mean, you're talking about being suicidal. That's suicidal. But the entities engaging in this conduct, and they are seeking to, as demons, they're engaging what is seeking to spiritually feed off of you. And they do so. What I stated on September 28th, the entity that's stalking me by helicopter, this is a spiritual attack. Even though you're looking at what is a public nuisance, you're looking at what is harassment and terrorism, you're looking at what is targeting on its face. I've broken it down. The Ontario police have engaged in stalking so much that everybody is looking at, oh yeah, she's getting this all the time. I mean, you can all clearly see that the Ontario police are exposed because they did so much, they did too much, okay? But that's relevant to what they are. They're psychopaths. And they're demons. So that's the spirit of a psychopath that's operating in people that don't have control. They engage in more and more and more. And guess what I did? I documented it more and more and more and more and more, proving it's not a coincidence. It's not an anomaly. Obviously, it's a pattern. And the entity is doing so in conformity to a pattern of conduct. That's why the city of Pomona, the city of Pasadena, the city of West Covina, the city of San Bernardino, the city of Upland, the city of Costa Mesa, the city of Bakersfield, all of the entity engaging in the same pattern of conduct, stalking me with helicopters under a fake sun that's over me. And that fake sun, you also know, is deliberately maintained over me because it's not the natural environment. It's impossible. The Ontario police did way, 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 way too much. Everybody knows what the Ontario police are doing, all right? You're looking at what is a spiritual attack, though. You're looking at what is desperation when they do that. It's also fear. That's actually what that is. It's fear. So when you're seeing them stalking me, and I capture video of it, you can hear it on the podcast, but I went on ahead and captured video during the 1 p.m. hour. That's an entity that's fearful because I'm documenting the people of the state, the demons in well, not Pomona, that was the day before yesterday. I'm documenting the demons in Chino. I'm documenting the demons. I'm uploading all this evidence onto the internet. And the entity's also fearful when I'm uploading all that evidence. They're scared to death, and they should be. But I just want to be clear, understanding the true core of what you're looking at. It's violence, but it's actually not a show of strength. These are demons that are actually very fearful. And in turn, when they act out of those, this is what they're supposed to be provoking me to. They're supposed to be provoking me to fear and having me act out of desperation, having me act out. And that the entity is doing the exact opposite. That's also how you're witnessing the entity experiencing all of the demonic spirits that they tried to send on me. You can't send some demonic spirit on a child of God. Okay, you can't do that, and especially when the Lord God has said, do not touch and do no harm. He was not playing about that. And also, that's something else. Even though you may claim that you don't believe, that's your right to do so. That's to your own demise, however. If you still do what he said not to do, it doesn't mean anything with regard to what is the truth of that word, and you will experience the repercussions for what he said, do not do and do no harm. Do not touch and do no harm. It's not based on whether you believe it or not. Okay, so you have the entity that's engaging in this conduct, and I stated on the 28th, the entity after kidnapping me, I'm walking on this same Euclid Avenue, and the demons are engaged in stalking by helicopter as they're engaging in kidnapping. They put me in the vehicle. After they lied about, oh, you harassed somebody. Who did I harass? Like, when did that? You can listen to the whole podcast. Nothing happened. You can look at the pictures. And the entity has, even in its alternate universe, because what am I dealing with? I'm dealing with a corrupt government that's operating and exercising an illusion of authority when they're engaged in criminal activity. And bursting through that illusion is the purpose of this investigation, and also prosecuting based on what the government is actually doing. And then I'm going to prosecute for the malice behind that, because the malice of what the government is doing is a real-time threat to your life, safety, and well-being. All right. And so the entity is engaging in this conduct, and where they are doing so, they are engaging in what is the stalking with helicopter conduct. The entity is doing that in order to cause you to experience fear, in order to cause you to feel threatened, in order to cause you to feel all sorts of things that don't actually belong to you. It's a form of spiritually attacking you. And at these places, these moments, these spaces of vulnerability, this is when demons surmise that they can put demons. This is where the demon possessed surmise that they can put a spirit on you. Okay, the entity has engaged in, as you can hear, as you've witnessed, I'm very passionate in everything that I do, first of all, but I'm very passionate, especially with regard to prosecuting disgusting and despicable and corrupt things like this. This is exactly why I went to law school. Well, I went to law school because the Lord God told me to, and I've always been interested in politics, and I've always been passionate about putting bad people away. So I am naturally passionate about that. This is not some anger, and even if I do get angry, okay, because it is provoking for somebody to wear a police uniform and makeup like you are so pathetic. You're sitting here in this costume, because it's not you've made it a costume, Satan, and you're making up information about why you're in my face. Do you know how small you just made yourself? You know how pathetic you are? Now, the entity is engaging in what is seeking to spiritually attack by provoking emotionally. Okay, this is what they This is what they typically do to the ordinary target individual, to the unsuspecting victim of a spiritual attack. And at these moments where they are totally misreading what is my calling, to call out hypocrisy and to prosecute it and to call Satan exactly what he is by name and not mince words. There is no emotion, however, that I'm going to go through that's going to make me vulnerable to any demonic spirit. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And that is something that is essentially the underlying benefit of knowing Christ Jesus. And this is what I've stated: those that do not know Christ as your Lord and Savior, this is a reality check. This is not about some constitutional right, the freedom of religion, and you can believe whatever you want. Yes, that's true, but it's real life. So outside of what are your constitutional rights, we all maintain, regardless of your belief sets, we all maintain a right to not be subject to this. That's already handled. You're talking about the difference between life and death. You're talking about what the demon possessed are out here doing to people, and they don't want you to know about it. When you are not covered with Christ Jesus, when you're not filled with his Holy Spirit, when you don't walk with him as your Lord and Savior, when you're not obedient to what the Word of God said, which is your shelter of protection, it's giving you wisdom for life, because Satan is real. Satan is a spirit. And as the people of the state of California shows you, Satan is engaged in an ongoing consumption with devouring as many as possible, but maintaining an outward demeanor as though nothing is happening, because Satan doesn't want you to suspect a thing. Satan doesn't want you to be aware of it. Satan wants you to be fully exposed and vulnerable to it. And those who are outside of Christ, you are fully exposed and vulnerable to it. Okay, now God is omnipotent, omniscient, all powerful, outside of time, all knowing. Okay, now that's speaking to what I will say is, just based on my relationship with Christ, it is to the fact to where it's not as though, I'm going to say it's imperative. If you do not know Christ, you need to surrender your life to Christ, because tomorrow is not promised and hell is real. And first there is death, and then the judgment. And to be out of the body is to be in the presence of the Lord, where you will face judgment. And it's not going to be based on your constitutional right to believe what you want. Okay? That's this world. It does not change who God is. His name is Christ Jesus. He already came and paid the price for your sins. He made it as easy as he possibly could. Now, walking with Christ Jesus, just like he suffered, those of you who are worthy, why do you think that you're going to be have it your way like this is Burger King? He suffered, and he did no wrong. He did no wrong. He came to suffer on our behalf, and we are unworthy. He did it while we were yet enemies of him. And he died for us. An almighty, holy God. Okay, we're not worthy of that. That's just the truth. And the reality is that in this world, if you're going to walk with Christ, you're going to suffer for it. And the demons, Satan knows who you are. You're going to be a target. You need to expect that, rather. Expect it. But I want to be clear, it's speaking to what makes you more than a conqueror. It's nothing to fear. It makes you stronger, and that's necessary for the times that we're in. This is not a time where you need to be walking around like a spiritual wimp. It's for your good, for your benefit, because Christ Jesus is not weak. He makes warriors. He makes more than conquerors. That's what he does. When you walk with him and you know him. And it's not about knowing how to talk to people, and it's not about going off and popping off, and it's not about knowing the right thing to do at the right time. Those are practical ways that the Lord God can enlighten you, but it's actually about spiritual warfare. It's actually about understanding who you are in Christ Jesus. It's also understanding about the position of Satan, who is under your feet. That's why they do things like stalk me, a whole city, a whole state of demons against one person. That's how important I am to the spiritually inferior. That's how vital and key I am. That they thought that they could live off of me spiritually and then sacrifice me once I became aware of it in order to silence me. None of that is going to happen. And they're going to be prosecuted. They're going to be judged for that which they've already committed, because the Lord God said, touch not and do no harm. And they're still doing it. You hear them? That's spiritual warfare, what they're engaging in. And these are, again, delusional. That's a spirit of delusion, mental illness. Crossing paths, stalking with light. Let me document this real quick. This is a demon. License 8RL. Hold on, let me get this. So this is a spiritual attack when they're engaging in the monitoring conduct. Monitoring is done by demons. The demons are engaged in what are spiritually attacking you. And the entity is doing so. This is nothing other than I'm documenting cut and dry criminal conduct. And they're engaged in failed spiritual attacks. That's where the demons are, and that's where I'm at. License 8BQL336, P.O.C. They're engaging in gang stalking, and it's a failed spiritual attack. It's a failed sacrifice. And what you need to know is what I stated on September 28th was a reality regarding what it is that is necessary, and it is understanding. This is a spiritual attack, which I want to be clear, everything is rooted in the spirit. First of all, what is manifesting in someone's behavior, someone's attitude, someone's treatment, it's starting in the spirit with where they are. The character of that person is starting in the spirit, who they are. There is, and it's beyond somebody being nice. Serial killers are nice. Being nice doesn't mean anything. Being nice doesn't mean anything. Rapists are nice. Okay? Pedophiles are nice. Being nice is a superficial guise for anything. It doesn't mean anything at all. So I just want to be clear, other than consciousness of the way that you may be perceived at one time or another, which can be used in a deceptive manner. So it means nothing. Okay, that's not a basis to analyze in depth, which is what you need to have. You need to have discernment. Okay, so these are, I'm gonna get out of that, but all I'm speaking to is the demons are engaged in spiritually feeding off of people. This is by provoking you. This is by targeting you, harassing you, treating you unfairly. This is how a corrupt government that's demon-possessed is engaged in spiritually attacking someone and then seeking to put a spirit on them. This is how you have millions and millions of people that are already demon-possessed. This is how they're flinging spirits around. And not only that, you have what is the ways in which, for example, children, when you're molested, this sexual activity is a way of transferring demonic spirits. Engaging in playing in spirits, playing with witchcraft, summoning spirits. These are ways in which you're subject to what is spirits, especially. I mean, you shouldn't be doing that anyway if you're a Christ follower. The Word of God clearly says that it is unlike him and his children. It shouldn't even be spoken of us engaging in any sort of dark spiritual practices, and that's because of the nature of what it is. And there is a level of what is understanding your role as a human being. You are the created. You're the creature. He is the creator. God is the creator. And there are things that are secret things that you don't and I don't need to know. But I want to be clear, the demon-possessed, Satan himself, is very much engaged in wanting to try and feign being God, which he is not. He's not the equal opposite of God. But you're talking about what is rooted in that which is a satanic purpose in the first place, wanting to be like God, wanting to know the future, wanting to try to control the future when you're learning it. This is the entity that's engaged in the practice of witchcraft, engaging in sorcery, engaging in divination, engaging in voodoo and black magic. All the intricate ways, soothsayers, there's all sorts of stuff that is relevant to what the Lord God has said not to play in. And the gang stalking, the demons that are engaged in monitoring, is a prime example regarding the inherent harms that can occur when you're disobedient to what God has said. Okay? So that's relevant to playing in dark spirits. Playing with dark spirits, which is all the same enemy. It is of Satan. It is of the devil, who is a spirit. Okay, so relevant to what is a spiritual attack is the criminal system of federal group stalking and monitoring. These are this is corruption, which is committed by those who are actually criminals, and they're going to be proven as criminals while they're maliciously acting via what is a system of public corruption, which I've exposed and I'm going to prosecute and recover for. But these are demons. While and the purposes of their criminal acts are to spiritually attack, to spiritually overwhelm. License plate 73756D2. It's to spiritually overwhelm, and the entities engaging in what is spiritually attacking, and they cannot spiritually touch me. All they're doing is spiritually obsessing over me. They're monitoring. They're spiritually spying on me. And all they're doing is all I'm doing is prosecuting them, because in other words, spiritually impervious to the attacks of the enemy. All right, and that's a God-given position, so that I can speak to what is going on, and so that you will understand how imperative it is to know Christ Jesus as your Lord and Savior today, not tomorrow. And not only that, to know what the enemy is doing and how to prosecute and enforce your rights. And this is something that is relevant for the God-given position that I have. That's the reason why, because it all goes back to him. It all goes back to him and what he has already said. And what the Lord has said is not to engage in the very things that the demon-possessed are doing, and they do it while they're dead. This is the Nephilim. They're already dead. And they are engaged in deeds of death. Their criminal conduct, their demonic conduct, these are deeds of death. okay? And they seek to spiritually kill, spiritually massacre other people. And that includes also physically taking their lives. And from that, they are under some sort of, with Satan, achieving temporary wealth, temporary riches, temporary success. This is what demons do when they are celebrities. And this is a lot of times how, through the blood loss of others, celebrities are acquiring fame, okay? This is demonic. It's referred to as sacrifices. All right. You agree to be a running, living ad for Satan, and he'll give you fame in exchange for it. You're at the top of the pop charts, and you're selling satanic tennis shoes, and your music videos are including everything as blasphemous about Christ Jesus as you can possibly conjure up. That's an agreement with Satan to be a puppet. Okay. And they do so for fame. And the minions that fill this country are the ones that are putting those demons in those positions for influence. Okay, but I just want to, outside of that, this is a prosecution for criminal activity, and the criminals are demon possessed, and their criminal tactics of monitoring are spiritual attacks. So you're harassing somebody over and over again. You're seeking to spiritually drain them. You're seeking to psychologically harm them in order to spiritually drain them. You're doing it in furtherance of an objective. They are invested in taking your life. They are trying to work to get you into it while they're also working on your reputation. All right, you're not a criminal, you're not a drug addict, you're not a promiscuous whore, all right, you've never been, but the entity is defaming your character in the background while they're spiritually attacking you, targeting you, trying to wear you down spiritually, trying to physically surround you in a circumstance where they can harm you, and also ruining your reputation so that nobody questions what happens to you. And this is while they are seeking to suck the life out of you spiritually. This is what demons are doing. And they go by company names. They go by Julia Gu, Kurt Hagman. They go by Alan D. Wapner, Jim Bowman, and the entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct, which includes Ronald Leverage. These are demons that are calling themselves in a position of authority over an airport board. The airport board is fully aware of every plane that is taking off and what every plane is doing. It's their job. Those are the names of terrorists who are demons who are spiritually attacking me. And I'm going to prosecute them in the physical for the criminal conduct that they're engaging in. And it is also very clear, cut, and dry. Like I said, as clear as the fake sun, the entity engaged in an ongoing body of evidence, and that is for your benefit because the body of evidence that I have is because the demon possessed were successful in avoiding justice. It's because it is providing what is a means whereby you can study, you can look at the library, the repository, the collection of evidence, speaking to what has been a long-term investment in exposing what Satan is doing. That's what this has caused. That's what that was the purpose of that for, that duration of time. It serves a purpose. Satan can't do anything but what the Lord God permits him to do. That's it. It was never any successful witchcraft. It never was. And obviously it's not obvious to these are mentally ill, literally it's a spirit. So these are mentally sick people. They're obsessed. And they're also delusional with what Satan is telling them that they should do and what the circumstances are showing them. And Satan is telling them otherwise. And Satan is also causing them to do more. And it's to their own demise, both in the physical and in the spiritual. And it is serving God's purposes. That's also to their demise, and it's to the benefit of those that will not be ignorant about what Satan doesn't want you to know. First of all, that he exists. Second of all, that he is in people. The Nephilim are here. And third of all, that it's existing in the United States and the world through what are corrupt government regimes, through a population. Which is how it's really context, because this is what the government is doing. This is how Satan is able to use it. He has to use people. He has to use people, but you're aware of and able to identify who Satan is using through the whole demonic environment that they're around you in, a fake sun. EG 77X61, that's a paper plate. So the entity is engaged in this conduct, and the entity is doing so while they are seeking to and failing at spiritually attacking. So when you have what are demonic spirits that you send out, the spirit of poverty and mental illness and sickness and suicide and whatnot, that's going to affect those that are spiritually vulnerable, and the spiritually vulnerable are those that are demon possessed, the Nephilim. All right, it's not touching me. And not only is it not touching me, I am standing strong in every regard, and I'm prosecuting it at that. I'm prosecuting it. So you're engaging in failed spiritual attacks because that's the purpose of stalking me in a helicopter. It's just that You're failing in your spiritual attacks. Meanwhile, I'm collecting a whole body of evidence to prosecute and prove in court that you've been targeting me the whole time. And you did so to physically harm me. That's why you were also defaming my character. That's why you also sought to steal from me when you never had any basis in the first place. 79096R3, that's a demon associated gang stalk with Wells Fargo. The entity is engaging in this targeting conduct, and it has failed in every regard regarding Satan. And that is so that I would be able to tell you about Satan, what Satan is doing. And in doing so, I'm telling you about Christ Jesus. I'm telling you about Christ Jesus. He is God, okay? He has the spirit of homosexuality on females that are obsessed with my vagina, females that are stalking me in the middle of the night, females that are obsessed with the ability to try to touch me with light that's not even really, it's like supernatural light. It's not even their headlights. And why are you trying to touch them? Ooh, here she comes now. What type of mind that's behind that? Because that's what they're doing. And that's a homosexual predator's mindset. That is every single female. These are demons, okay? That is, then you have what are the pathetic existence of that entire population. This is given a very clear example when a whole police department is using its helicopters to stalk one person. That's letting you know about the homosexual predators, every female that is of the Nephilim that's obsessed with me and stalking me. And then there's the illusion that they present regarding their life. And they're on social media with followers and making it seem like, and presenting as though, this is where it's at. I got the bag and you need to be like me and you need to follow me and this is how I did it. They're lying. They're puppets of Satan and they're seeking to exercise influence over you. All right. But nonetheless, I'm going to digress there. The entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct and is doing so. As you can hear, it's the clock went off, looks like 30 minutes ago. It's 9:30 now. And the entity is engaging in what is keeping the fake sun over the Ontario Town Square. The fake sun is over me at the Ontario Town Square where the Ontario police are stalking during the 1 p.m. hour. And the entity has the fake sun over me at 9:30 when I'm on Route 84. And I'm capturing the fake sun shining through the window of that bus. And I believe that's the city of... coming from the city of Chino into the city of Montclair. And the entity has the fake sun over the Ontario Town Square. But this is already on the record because yesterday when I got on the bus and I went to those cities and I documented the fake sun, that's exactly what I was referring to, what was already on the record. And in a natural environment, the sun is not going to be through the window of a bus that's driving on a random street in the city of Montclair, Upland, none of those cities, when it is sitting next to the clock at the Ontario Town Square. It is for example, west of the 280 North Lemon Apartments, east of the large clock at the Ontario Town Square. And while it is east of the clock at the Ontario Town Square, in between the 280 North Lemon Apartments and the large clock at the Ontario Town Square, it is not on the west side of that clock. It is not on the west side of Euclid Avenue. It is not on the west side of the storefronts along Euclid Avenue. It's in a very specific, particular location over me. And that light activity, my shadow, is what establishes that. And it also remains here until the end of the day. And the entity is not engaging in what is anything that is mysterious under any circumstances. And it even gets more detailed than that because the government has the ability to, you're talking about providing latitude and longitude, ecological addresses regarding the time of day, the direction that I'm facing, and what the entity is doing, and then what it is that I'm documenting when I go somewhere else, like when I go to Pomona, and you're looking at that fake sun through the window of the bus while I'm being driven onto the Pomona Regional Transit Center. What is on the grounds of the Ontario Town Square adjacent to the clock and over the 280 North Lemon Apartments is not shining through the bus window of Route 61 pulling up at the Pomona Regional Transit Center at the same time, at any point, because it never leaves the Ontario Town Square. And it's on a particular side of the large clock, meaning it's not on Hope Boulevard over the Stater Brothers parking lot, because I wouldn't be able to see it here. It's mutually exclusive. But when I'm at Stater Brothers, that's when that fake sun is there, even in the morning, and the entity is engaging what is stalking, as you were able to identify it, by the same demons, Julia Gu, Kurt Hagman, Ronald Leverage, Jim Bowman, Alan D. Wapner, that are engaged in what are stalking me using airlines, commercial planes, the most terrorizing thing that demons that are seeking to spiritually attack you can summon in order to attack you psychologically, attack you emotionally, so that they can spiritually survive off of you because they are dead, they're demons. And I'm going to prosecute them because they're terrorists. They're domestic terrorists. And they enable and engaged in and participated in multiple kidnappings while they sought to spiritually attack me. This is what the Nephilim are doing, and it is happening under the physical evidence of what is public corruption. They're mentally ill. That level of corruption is requiring, understand, it's mental illness. That's why you're so corrupt. That's why you engage in such extreme, because you are mentally ill, in fact. That's not normal. That's not just a bad person. Oh, I've got a good idea. I'm an evil genius and I've got a good idea to make money and I just want to torture people just because I feel like, no, this is mental illness. And unfortunately, you need to understand that many people are of this condition. And I don't just mean that they're in sin and they need Christ. That's it. But it is the extreme. They're demon possessed. Very specific. Demon possession is what is required to stalk me with impossible light activity. You're looking at that when Omnitrans is driving by. Bus after bus after bus. Foothill Transit buses, bus after bus. Those are demons. That's the entity that's engaging. You're talking about the Nephilim that are here, and they are here fully. Millions. A population of demons. So I want to make sure that that's clear. The entity is engaging what is failed spiritual attacks. That's the significance of stalking and harassing me in helicopters and planes. And it's the collection of evidence to prosecute the government for it. Demons that are going to sit in federal cells for it. Okay, and the government is doing that in a manner that it intended to never be exposed. Not only is it exposed, it's embarrassed. Okay, and it's full throttle. I mean, a whole tutorial as to how this system works and how the government engages in it, even down to the way that restaurants and drive-thrus are operating when they're gang stalking inside of this, whatever type of establishment it is. Because it's monitoring, so you're just you're adjusting the monitoring to whatever the nature of that establishment is. If they're making burgers, if they're serving coffee, if they're lending books, if they're in banking, if they're engaged in property management, if they're engaged in construction, if they're engaged in public transportation services, whatever it is, you're adjusting the same monitoring conduct. All right, and that is the P.O.C. That's the video. That's based on what the entity is doing, stalking me through the city of Ontario. And the city of Ontario includes the Ontario Fire Department. That's Michael GERKEN. The Ontario Police Department. That's Michael LORENZ. The Ontario International Airport, that's that Ontario Board and Ontario Executive Board. And these are nice terms that Satan applies to itself. But Satan is nothing. These are terrorists. These are sex offenders keeping my vagina under surveillance. That's what the fire department doesn't want you to know. But that's the truth of what they're consuming, and that's all they're engaging in. They're sitting on the edge of their seats listening to every word that I state, everything that I state. And that is not the legitimate business or concern or behavior of a fire department. Why are they engaging that? Because they're demons. It's the Nephilim. 73756 David 2. 9 Larry David Larry 495. 7Z13092. We just want to read that these are the demons gang stalking at Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is located at 240 North Euclid Avenue. They're engaged in criminal monitoring with the city of Ontario. KNYKID 2. 9 Mary Henry Nancy 922. 8 Victor Xavier Frank 855. And this is, you need to understand, is what the demons Shannon Dykes is engaging in monitoring inside of the facilities of West Valley, Glen Helen Rehabilitation Center, Central Detention Center. They're monitoring. They're engaging in the same elements of monitoring, and it's encompassed with the people of the state who are the inmates and the demons who are the deputies and the so-called medical professionals. They're demons. And they're engaged in torture. And that's a basis to remove that sheriff's department. It is not too large at all. They're engaged in murder. They're engaged in sexual violence. They're engaged in kidnapping. They're engaged in criminal defamation. And they're engaged in torture in furtherance of committing murder. License 8BQL336, license 7ZCZ445, 8 Sam Victor Charlie 134, 7 Thomas David Kelly 996, 62114 Frank 3. These are demons that are gang stalking. So you have all the pattern of conduct that's encompassed within the facilities of Shannon Dykes, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, that are a demon-possessed agency. And they're engaged in the pattern of conduct of monitoring, seeking to suck the spiritual life out of someone that they intend to sacrifice. And a sacrifice can happen through, again, sucking the spiritual life out of you until you become one of them, all right? Sucking the spiritual life out of you by killing you. Taking whatever it is that is yours. That's also a means of sacrificing. The entity sucking the spiritual life out of you by engaging what is stealing your essence, stealing your identity, stealing your accomplishments. These are practical ways in which the demon possessed are spiritually attacking you. You need to understand and do not get lost in what is the purpose behind what it is that is happening in life. It's a spiritual attack. It starts in the spirit. It's serving a spiritual purpose. All right. And this is something that it should cause you to what is seek Christ Jesus, because that spiritual warfare, the only defense is what is Christ himself. He already conquered death. That's why. Okay, witchcraft doesn't work on Christ Jesus. He conquered death in all of its forms. Death bows to him. It bows before him. It submits to him. He rules over all spirits. They are underneath his feet. And those that walk with Christ, you have inherited that spiritual authority. And that's reality, and that's what Satan doesn't want you to know. That's what the demons don't want you to know. When they're attacking you in ways in which you are only focusing on the spirit, oh, they're being mean to me, and they're harassing me, and they're mistreating me, they're abusing me one way or another, they stole this from me. This is relevant to what are spiritual attacks. Okay, and that's, again, on a greater picture. You're talking about gang stalking. You're talking about massive spiritual attacks. And the entity does that when they are, again, Satan wants to spread himself. So you're talking about putting as many spirits on as many people as possible. You have the entire police department that's demon affected. You have the entire fire department that's demon affected. Everyone associated with, including the TSA at the airport, that's the federal government that shouldn't be engaged in gang stalking. The entire association regarding the Ontario demon infected. There's no respecter of persons when you're understanding what the demon possessor is spiritually doing. And then when you're going to prosecute it, this is public corruption born of demon possession. And so with that, you're looking at the federal, state, and local, all demons, all engaged in criminal conduct for which you accumulate tangible evidence in order to prosecute them. But there is no respecter of persons amongst the demon possessed. They're all going to stand before God as well. Some of them are going to die sooner than later because of the things that they've committed. They've committed against other people, and that they've committed against me. And that was literally the line. Okay, the entity engaging in summoning demonic spirits, summoning death. This is what Tracy Banks and Jason Fields have led the pack in. They're still engaging in spiritually attacking me. They do so while the demons stalk me in planes and helicopters. This is the ongoing spiritual campaign that Jason Fields is still engaged in. This is a coward who is very fearful of federal prison, and that's exactly where he's going. He's going to federal prison, and so is his sex partner, Tracy Banks, and neither one of them are in any position in the federal government that's sitting up watching me being targeted. You need to understand that the entity is seeking to engage in some sort of backdoor. No, there will be no negotiating, not with the federal government, and I surely will not be negotiating with any demon-possessed gang stalker. You're still targeting me, and then you want to try to give me money on the back end because you think that you can pay me and get away. Oh, no. Julia Goo's getting prosecuted. You're not paying your way out of that. You've all sacrificed that. You targeted the right person, the one that's not afraid to speak, and the one that will see it all the way through to the end. There is no amount of money, in other words, and I don't need your money. He's going to give me that which was stolen plus interest, and I'm also going to prosecute you. I've already said your name. You're going to be prosecuted. There will be no negotiation, and that is absurd to even suggest that out of the mouth of a third-party gang-stalking demon. While you're still targeting at the first place, there is no basis. There will be no meeting at the table. I don't sit and fraternize with demons. I prosecute them. It's not happening. You're still stalking as an airport, as a police department, as a fire department, as a municipality, as a whole public entity, the state of California. And you think that you're going to come around and offer some pennies. I don't even care if you think that it's a large amount of money. There will be no outside of court discussion. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to prosecute you in a courtroom. That's when we're going to have an exchange. It's going to be in court. And I made that clear. I made that very clear because this is where the prosecution is happening on the internet publicly. So you can listen to and refer to the evidence. You're sitting up on the edge of your seat, listening to everything, and everybody is listening to the fact that there will be no negotiation. There will be no conversation. You shouldn't even have my phone number, but I know that you do because you're a demon-possessed gang stalker. All right, but I changed my phone number. And the entity that's gang stalking me is stalking when you come into my presence. I'm going to prosecute you, and there will be no negotiating. Jason Isaac Fields represents a terrorist. Coming into my presence is an unlawful threat to my life while he's still targeting, acting in furtherance of murder, and there will be no negotiation with a co-conspirator to murder. While you're still engaging in having sex with my mother. This is absurd, and this is the demons that are engaged in this pattern of conduct. This is just getting down into the practical details. There will be no negotiating with Satan. I don't do that. I don't negotiate with Satan. I don't compromise with Satan, and I do not negotiate with terrorists. And that's exactly what Fields is. That's exactly what Tracy Banks is. Coming around, I documented the other night, gang stalking with the Ontario police, who are crossing path on Euclid Avenue while she's in my presence, license 9HUZ740. Coming around with in and out. Oh, did you want something? Oh, I just saw you. She's a psychopath. She's stalking. She knows exactly where I'm at. She's monitoring my vagina with the rest of these sex offenders. She's monitoring me with the entire state of California. These are demons. That's a psychopath. And you think you're still engaged in that level of lying like I'm some fool and I'm going to engage in even entertaining any nonsense that you're talking about. It's not going to happen, Satan. It's not going to happen. And because you initiated this, I am going to finish it in a courtroom with a conviction. Now, your sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, he's also instructed. You come around me, you're going to regret it because you're going to prison for longer. All right, that's the absurdity of engaging in terrorism, conspiring murder, and then thinking you're going to be in my face while you're gang stalking the entire time. There's no discussion. There's no conversation. There's nothing to offer. There is absolutely nothing that you have that belongs to me that the government didn't permit you to have. And if you still have it, I'm going to prosecute the government. It's handled itself. So I want you to hear it because there's no negotiation. Yeah, there's no negotiation. This is P.O.C. This is Jason Fields, Tracy Banks, Tommy Allen Banks, Eric Corey Spencer, the entirety of the city of Ontario, the state of California, the demons of the Ontario board, the demons who are the people of the state gang stalking in the path on the Euclid Avenue crossing path. These two, one with the pot belly, his belly's in front of his person, and the second one with his communication device. They're stalking in the path on Euclid Avenue while the fake sun is over this same Ontario Town Square where the Ontario police are stalking by helicopter at this same address yesterday afternoon. The entities engaging in surveillance, stalking with the city of Ontario, and that's what they're doing while I'm walking from 537 North Euclid Avenue up to what is this location. And there are no planes flying over that Chevron or over that ARCO or over that storefront at 537 or over Starbucks. They're maintaining aerial surveillance here. Monitoring with minor children, monitoring with the business Wells Fargo, with Mule Cart's Smokehouse, with all of the storefronts, with the entity that's maintaining surveillance on the roads and the highways, including the demons of the Ontario Police Department. The Ontario City Hall is gang stalking as you hear that plane activity. The entity is gang stalking through the OVITT Family Community Library. The City of Ontario, the demons that are pacing all around with the vehicles of the municipality, just like they were in the afternoon, wearing the blue staff t-shirts. That's the same municipality. Gang stalking under the fake sun when I'm nowhere here yesterday. I'm on a bus in Chino, then going to Montclair, then going to Upland, and then back to Ontario at 11 o'clock in the morning. The entity is engaging in that conduct, and just like you hear them still targeting, that's an entity that conspires in its mind, only in its mind, because it's not a reality, that you're going to try to murder me, and then that fails, and that we're going to have a conversation, because it's not going to happen. Not in reality. So I just want to be clear on that. This is an entity that's witchcraft has failed. And this is an entity who can expect those demonic spirits to go right back to Tracy Banks. They're going right back to Jason Isaac Fields. It's going right back to Eric Spencer and all these demons that are engaging in it, and the demons that fill the state of California. Okay, that's the entity that's engaging in that, and there shall be no negotiation. I will be prosecuting the Ontario so-called board. I will be prosecuting the so-called Ontario executive team. They are no such. Those are misnomers, and those are deceptive. Those are deceptive titles that mean nothing. They're terrorists. They're enemies of the United States, and I represent how they are seeking to murder and psychologically torture, and as demons spiritually drain. And while they spiritually drain you, they're breaking the law in doing so, because they have to stalk you and target you through the use of an airline, through the use of an airport. In doing so, they have to engage in federal stalking on the venue of the internet in order to do so, and they have to do so through an unprecedented means of terrorism in the United States, stalking as a population. Everywhere that the people of the state live, work, and travel, they're engaging in surveillance, which is exposing what are the immigrants to deportation and what is exposing the entire state to a federal RICO case. And the bottom line is that there will be no negotiation outside of any court. There will be no negotiation, period, but I won't be discussing anything outside of court. I'll be prosecuting, and this is making up the evidence for that prosecution. The entity that's engaging in this and having homosexuals follow me into the bathroom while they're outside stalking me, while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct with the corrupt airport. These are the homosexuals that are engaging in that. They're doing so on behalf of homosexuals like Tracy Banks, who's obsessed with my vagina, and she's supposed to be acting like she's my mother. She's a sex offender, and she is the one that's soliciting stalking by a whole city of demons, just like her. That's P.O.C. Okay? And it is currently, while you're listening to that, that's 9:46, 9:47, 9:48. Not published on the website and has nothing to do with what are takeoffs from the airport. Alrighty, this is what an entity is doing over 537 North Euclid Avenue when I'm at the F Street in Euclid. flying over the storefronts. This is what the entity is doing while they're stalking at Mule Car Smokehouse, stalking with light. This is what the entity is doing while they're stalking at Wells Fargo. The employees are inside monitoring. This is what they're doing as the City of Ontario, Brightview. This is what they're doing while they're, this is what I'm capturing images of, maintaining ongoing plane activity. So you can see that covering up the fake sun is the pattern of conduct that the entity is still engaging in, stalking with methods of light. Those are psychopaths that are stalking, aiming light. Satan is aiming light in one way or another. And they're all doing so while a fake sun remains over me. And for it to be at the Ontario Town Square is the direct evidence prosecuting the city of Upland, prosecuting the city of Fontana, prosecuting the city of Ontario, prosecuting the city of Montclair, prosecuting the city of Chino, where the entity is maintaining that criminal pattern of conduct ceaselessly. All right. And that which is sitting over the Ontario Town Square is not over the Chino Transit bus station. That which is sitting idle over the Ontario Police Department is not sitting over the Ontario Town Square where this homosexual is sitting up stalking me, and her prop is that she's got 2 dogs. She's under the fake sun, and she's a psychopath who is obsessed with my vagina and what's going on between my legs. That's a demon-possessed person that happens to be in a woman's body. That's a demon using a woman, and her behavior is that which is homosexual, of a predatory nature, okay? This is the entity, that's a whole population of them that are engaging in that conduct. And it's open and obvious and clear targeting by that entity. That's the Ontario Board. That's the Ontario Executive Team. That's Securitas. That's gang stalking. This is the entity that's engaging in what is harassment while they're making up information about me harassing them while they're engaging. This is exactly why you're going to prison for kidnapping as an Ontario Board, for kidnapping as an Ontario Executive Team, for kidnapping as a police department, for kidnapping as an entity. Okay? Because that's the significance of that. All right? License plate. African Americans coming out of Wells Fargo now, 8BQL336, and they're engaging in what is surveillance inside of that Wells Fargo. As I documented them upon arrival, and as they depart, they've been engaged in monitoring the entire time. They still are when they're driving by. They just are engaged in relevant positioning, conspicuous stalking, as I encounter them and document that, okay? Because like I said, Chino is monitoring, the state of California is monitoring me, and the evidence is that watch this fake sun drag through city to city through the window of this bus as I leave Ontario, and you'll see the evidence of that pattern of conduct. Where the city of Montclair is flying over my head by planes and the fake sun is over me, that is proving that the Ontario Board and the Ontario Executive Team, those are demons engaging in what is failed witchcraft, which is going to attack them. And the entity is engaged in criminal conduct for which I'm going to prosecute and recover for. This is P.O.C. This is what the entity is doing when the demons that are stalking at the Ontario Town Square, they go into the bathroom to engage in that, while the demons engage in what are maintaining aerial surveillance, stalking in the path, and doing so in the bathrooms. This is what, again, homosexuals like what you see at the square engaging in under what is the fake sun. The entity is keeping the fake sun. It's 9:51 a.m. The entity, I'm on the bus route going to what is Montclair and the Montclair Transit Center, and coming from Chino, where the entity Securitas is gang stalking with the employees, and Securitas is engaged in what is kidnapping on September 28, 2025, manufacturing information, and literally, and that's why you document, because you're dealing with that level of corruption. And this is an entity that is under no circumstances will there be any negotiation with an entity that tried to kill you. And not only that, you tried to kill me, you tried to ruin every aspect of my professional and personal career. But I want to be clear, none of them were friends anyway. They were all, I was surrounded by demons. So the entity is engaging in what is infiltrating your life, and they thought that it was the perfect plan in order to destroy me, because understand that they're demons, so they knew who I was spiritually speaking, they don't know everything. They don't know everything because obviously the Lord God is the one that knows everything. He also knows beforehand what the demons were going to learn, and while they were sitting around monitoring what they were going to do. But they didn't know everything, but they knew enough to target and spiritually attack, and this is what I've been subject to since I was a child. But they're not able to put demons on me, and they're not able to take my life with their witchcraft. But I am able to prosecute and put terrorists in prison for this very criminal system that I'm exposing, and I'm showing you how you're going to prosecute that. The entities engaged in this conduct, remember, I'm capturing video as I'm walking to the OVITT Family Community Library. It opened at 1 o'clock yesterday. And the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking under a fake sun over the same property, over the same person. And not only that, at this time yesterday, I'm on public transportation in a different city. That's where the entity is maintaining flight 945, 46, 47, 48. Doing so as they're listening to me state the fact that there will be no negotiation with any terrorists like Tracy Banks or any terrorists like her sex partner, Jason Fields, while she's engaged in what is gang stalking, and they are still engaged in practicing witchcraft, spiritually attacking, in concert with the demons that are stalking me as a population. Jason Fields represents what is a psychopath that's engaging in voyeurism. This is a coward who's engaged in what is hiding in the background while he's gang stalking me. And this is a demon that will actually never have any basis in my, and I'm going to document it, just like I documented Tracy Banks. That's a threat. And this is, again, my ability to maintain composure and document a premeditated attack on my life is because she's already a defeated minion. And I prosecuted her years ago. She's experiencing it in time, okay? And that's the same for her sex partner. And that's the same for her co-defendant, the Ontario Police Department. It's the same for her co-defendant's license, 7LML973. Pacing all around me, stalking as the living dead who are facing an inevitable exposure and prosecution. 9VKR325 with the bad wig on. Stalking under a fake sun that's over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library. Okay, we've got about 3 chins on this one. License plate, 8MJX155. Stalking under a fake sun, which is proven to be stalking as an entity that maintains a crime scene around you. And this is a sex offender keeping my vagina under surveillance, stalking at the entrance with the red plaid shirt. This is an African-American male engaging in surveillance, stalking with the demons outside of the venue, where I'm at this OVITT Family Community Library in the afternoon, exiting at 4, the fake son's over the same venue, okay? He's engaged in surveillance inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. You'll see his image right now. He's engaged in Title 18 federal stalking. The fake son's over me while I'm at the Montclair Transit Center. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation are gang stalking under the 9:45 a.m. fake son. The fake son is remaining over me while I'm on Route 66 going toward Upland, California. The entity is maintaining a fake son over the entrance at the same time. That's speaking to, again, this is a sex offender coming to engage in surveillance with the OVITT Family Community Library, who together commit kidnappings with this agency, the Ontario Police Department, that's gang stalking today, doing so under an environment that is untenable with regard to the ability to prosecute them. Okay, here comes Ontario Police right here. While they listen to me expose that and detail that, just want to be clear, this demon is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. This is P.O.C. License plate 1680789, vehicle 1115. That's a female, and this is the fake son that's over me at the Montclair Transit Center, where the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation are gang stalking, just like the Ontario Police are, and they do so while they're listening in real time, me document the demons keeping my vagina under surveillance with them while they're gang stalking. Remember that I'm here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday, where the fake son is over me after I went through the multiple cities, where this fake son is speaking to what is specifically placed over me while this entity is targeting. It is currently 9:55 a.m. That's the entity that's being disbanded. And they committed kidnapping by lying and stating, as I'm documenting, that there was harassment going on when there was no harassment. Vivanco's going to prison, Joseph Valencia's going to federal prison, and so is Durham. License 7KGV713. The line of demons that I took a picture of under the 4 p.m. fake sun that was still here, they were monitoring my vagina with the Ontario Police inside of the downtown luxury Ontario apartments where all those demons are monitoring. This is the pattern of conduct. The entity kept the fake sun after 6 p.m. This is the entity that's engaging in that. There's no sun in Montclair. There's no sun in Upland. There's no sun outside of the window of Route 84 or 83 or 66. These are the demons that are stalking. And so is the airport that's going to be prosecuted. And so is the entity that's going to be disbanded as a corrupt police department. And they're monitoring my vagina. They're going to be put in federal prison for kidnapping with the Ontario Police. These are sex offenders. This is P.O.C. It's 9:56 a.m. Refer to the California Department of Rehabilitation Center. They're gang stalking, and they're going to put each other in the appropriate facilities for gang stalking as corrupt law enforcement. Ontario Police are being disbanded. P.O.C. Alrighty, I'm capturing video of the Ontario Police gang stalking. That was a female driving that vehicle, and you're paying attention to the timing. What it is that I discuss as I discuss it, and the environment as I'm discussing it. And this is a psychopath that's gang stalking with the police department, monitoring my vagina routinely, keeping his back to me. His phone conversation is in order to monitor me. This is how pathetic the demons are, and he's monitoring while the police are incriminating him. And this is relevant to the criminal conduct of all the demons inside of the OVITT Family Community Library who are engaging in surveillance under a fake sun that's not shared with the Department of California's Correction and Rehabilitation, who are at the Montclair Transit Center off of Rickton in Montclair, California, where the fake sun is over the top of my head at that Montclair Transit Center, where Greyhound, Foothill Transit, and Omnitrans are gang stalking, pacing all around, just like these demons. 6H39131, and they're doing so when the possible light. That's what I documented. License 8ZNT490, and the demons include the Ontario Police Department. License 9HZ Z523. And these are the demons that are gang stalking with Jason Fields, who's going to prison, and Tracy Banks, who's going to federal prison. These are demons that are engaging in targeting obsessively, and these are demons that have no basis for any sort of backdoor payment. They have not admitted to any court hearings. It wouldn't be valid in the first place. You're not going to go into court and claim, oh, well, I gave her this money and this is what. No, you're not. This is the entity that's not admitting to any court hearings. I have not been admitted to any court hearings, haven't been given notice of any court hearings, haven't been given notice of any property and money that belongs to me. My documentation is speaking to what it is that I know, but the entity has not admitted, in the same way that I know that they're criminally monitored, and I'm going to prosecute them for that, and they have not admitted that, but they will be prosecuted and convicted for it. The entity has not spoken of any court hearing. The entity has not spoken of property that belongs to me. The entity is engaged in what is an air of deception while thinking that you're going to give me some sort of change while you're still targeting me in furtherance of murder. This is the entity that's doing so. And remember, the Ontario police are engaged in stealing my money and property as well, and they're still gang stalking under a fake sun, speaking to the demons that are engaging in surveillance with them at the OVITT Family Community Library. Okay, like the sex offender that's wearing that pledge shirt in operation of a communication device, a criminal act, gang stalking with the Ontario police, doing so while keeping my vagina under surveillance, doing so with the homosexuals that enter that restroom under a fake sun that is not coexisting with what's over me on the bus while I'm traveling through Chino and Montclair and Upland, California. To be on the same street where I capture the fake sunrise at 7:44 in the morning and 11 o'clock coming on Route 83 back into Ontario, that fake sun is still over me. This is a demon that's monitoring my vagina with the Nephilim that are driving around in Ontario Police Department vehicles, coexisting with what is evidence of the California Department of Correction and Rehabilitation, who are demon-possessed gang stalking under a fake sun as well. In Montclair, not over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library. Very, very clear and distinct. All right, the two, that's how you're looking at it. The two are prosecuting each other. And it's not only showing what it's targeting, it's very specific. These are demons that are wearing police uniforms, wearing uniforms associated with law enforcement, that are engaging in sexual violence, that are conspiring murder, that are engaging in what is spiritual attacks. These are demons. All right, that's P.O.C. And that video is going to be uploaded right now. The Ontario International Airport is engaged in surveillance in the bathroom and are engaged in surveillance on behalf of the City of Ontario. P.O.C. All right, it is currently 10:17 a.m. This is stalking, as well as monitoring me while I'm inside of that room right there, stalking in the path. On behalf of the state, the fake sun is over me right now where I'm at. Remember, I'm at the entrance. Ontario police are stalking with the patrons that come in to engage in surveillance. The entity is maintaining the fake sun over the entrance as I walk in, and I'm going to show you the fake sun that's at the back of the library. You see how the engineer light is already there? It's supposed to be the illusion of sunlight. Not only is that not sunlight, and it's there regardless of the fake sun, that's how I'm telling you you're breaking apart the illusion that the unintelligent demon-possessed who are monitoring you in an engineered light and in an engineered environment are maintaining the elements of monitoring. That engineer light is present while the fake sun's over the entrance, and the fake sun is moving over me, and then to be present, that engineer light remains there. It's not sunlight, and it's impossible for it to occur in this manner. Sunlight's not going to occur on the inside of the building flat on the ground off to an angle in any manner. It's all going to be shade. This is evidence of monitoring, just like I'm showing inside of the Fontana Lewis Library. Okay, and this is where the fake sun is present. Over the back. This is the back of the library. So this is the entity that's engaging in keeping the fake sun. This is indeed the fake sun that's right here. 10:17 a.m. I am on the bus, and the entity is engaging what is keeping that fake sun when I've gotten on Route 66. Not only is this not the sun, because it's now jumped to the back portion of the same library. While it's at the front entrance, this is not light that's going to be present under any circumstances. While it's at the back entrance right now, this is the evidence of stalking me with the fake sun and those in that environment, including the Ontario Police at the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library at 215 E.C. Street in Ontario, California. They are stalking with real-time knowledge of everything that I'm documenting them stalking in furtherance of murder. That was a female that was driving that vehicle while the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation are stalking at the Montclair Transit Center, as I documented yesterday, while this fake sun's remaining in a different city in the same position over the top of my head. This is not in Montclair over the Transit Center at the same time. While it's very much specific, very peculiar in its placement directly over me at the back of the OVITT Family Community Library, where it's also immediately going to the back of the library facing College of Laverne, University of Law. That's the Ontario City Hall over there. Paul Leon is a demon. He's engaged in gang stalking, and he is targeting with the entirety of the airport. This is letting you know the malice. That's a demon that's actually stalking me, not looking, not addressing, and doesn't have to. They're creating the elements of monitoring, and that intentional in conduct is proven by the maintenance of a fake sun that is at the same time over me while I'm moving into the city of Upland on the bus, and then I get off of at Foothill and Euclid Avenue, where that fake sun remains over me stationary. That's not over the OVITT Family Community Library at the same time. It's not over the back of the OVITT Family Community Library, where this fake sun is present in this position, creating the illusion. This is the illusion that's created at 7 in the morning when I'm at the entrance, and you're looking at the fake sun that's supposedly rising at this same library. This is the position where it's at. You're looking at it over the top of my head at this location in the city of Ontario at 215 AC Street, and I'm in the city of Upland on Route 66 getting off at the U.S. Bank. All right, this is the entity that's engaged in stalking the employees using a bookcase as the guise of what is stalking in the path, stalking with noise, with simultaneity to my movement, and monitoring my vagina. Those that are engaging in surveillance, readily identifiable, and of what is a family community library is a deceptive misnomer, just like calling yourself an Ontario board. This is where the entity is flying over the library with planes and helicopters, monitoring my vagina, just like I stated with the Ontario police. That is indeed P.O.C. It is currently 10:21 a.m. All right, based on the video documentation that you just listened to, the following license plates include those sharing in the perpetual sex offense, sexual assault, and battery. As the city of Ontario is targeting with the people of the state, they're all demons engaging in a criminal pattern of conduct. It is public corruption, in other words. The government's engaging in stalking, and the people of the state are in the shoes of the government. You can see they're not private citizens. They're engaging in gang stalking together, and the government is engaged in an organized system of crime. And it's ongoing sexual violence, and the following license plates are included in that. All right, again, sexual assault and battery by the demons that are molesting with impossible light. The two demons that are doing so with the Ontario International Airport again. You'll recall the harassment documented last night with the Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Police Department at ARCO. This is the entity that's engaging in surveillance, and this is violence that the government is engaging in. License 9RPZ500 and 9PSG710, Bank of America, and also using the Agua Suprema for placement in the path, stalking in the path, and doing so while you're doing so as a third party with the government that's flying over here, and that targeting is proven already by the Ontario International Airport. All right, so they're targeting me flying miles away from the airport while the demons are engaging in a sex offense molesting. All right, and this sex offender's license plate includes 9492, hold on, this is a white male, license plate 94942X2. This is a sex offender. This, I want to be clear, engaged in sex trafficking, engaged in kidnapping, engaged in sexual assault and battery as an entity, engaged in what is conspiracy to murder while they're acting with the city of Ontario, targeting me with planes and helicopters and the gang stalking police department, and he acts with impunity in furtherance of that murder that he is acting in furtherance of as an entity, stalking me in the middle of the night and molesting with impossible light. Remember, it's not their headlights. So they are crossing my path in order to touch with engineered light, as fake as the sun that sits over the OVITT all day. That's not sunlight. They're molesting with a means of demonic activity, and they're going to be prosecuted for terrorism upon sexual violence and furtherance of murder. And they're sitting in the parking lot, listening to me prepare to go document them. They're already engaged in surveillance, all sitting around stalking me, listening to me, and watching me eat. And then they're engaging in starting their vehicles, which is both for purposes of monitoring and also because sex offenders want to flee like cockroaches that they are when they're going to be documented. License 6NGW189. Pizza Hut's engaged in gang stalking and everything that I'm documenting as well. They're using that venue as a means of surveillance and activity creation, and so is the city of Ontario. License 7ETD086. 8VJV597, 8UXH490, DY50N24, that's paper, 9MAP132. The City of Ontario that's stalking, targeting over here with planes, is doing so with every single license plate that I'm documenting and more. But I'm just documenting these license plates because they're at my disposal. Okay? The entity engaged in what is stalking with another plane right now at 10:02 p.m. 8NGW146 is going to be prosecuted for that ongoing criminal system as I'm documenting a terrorist by license plate. 9LNF008. 7FTK390, EG29WW4 paper. And this is why the Ontario International Airport, by the way, is getting shut down. American citizens are murdered by gang stalkers who act with haughtiness, who act with audacity, who act with a sense of authority while they're terrorizing American citizens. And this is exactly why they're being removed. And the entire board and executive team, they're being prosecuted. License 8YKY834, 8LRZ407. 9RKN591, 89939N3. That looks like the demon that was molesting and then ran off to the side of the parking lot. 019MRJ, that's Oregon. 9HOY104. 9UQU362. 93869Z2. 7LLM139. 61856A2. And also the gym at 130 West G Street, and I documented them stalking with the Ontario Police. All right, targeting me in the parking lot, and then engaging what is harassment, and the entity flies over my head by helicopter while they're harassing me. That's a part of the harassment as an entity. 9LPY530. These are venues. Let me get these homosexuals. All right, these are predators monitoring my vagina, obsessed with my vagina while they're females. And many of them like to present like they're heterosexual women, and they're homosexuals. They're demon-possessed homosexual demons. And they're engaged in monitoring my vagina. They're obsessed with my vagina. 8BGM682, 9EGW551, 8POK931, and they came right out of 130 West G Street. The gym is monitoring. That's the name of the establishment. It's called the gym. 6DLH292. Stalking with another plane at 10:04 p.m. They're monitoring in real time while they're being prosecuted. EF74Z93 paper, 9TFS177, and this is impunity. Remember, I'm speaking on behalf of those. They murder people. They murder people. And they're engaging in this while they are simultaneously being exposed and prosecuted for it. 7TJV178. That's a very particular type of predator. That's an unfathomable and unlawful threat by the government. Every one. 9TTU968, that's the government, and I'm going to prosecute for that threat. 9SNA817, that's the government. License 9UQH031, that's the government. 7AQE522, that's the government. The sex offenders on video stalking in the path while I was walking in the parking lot, that's what they're doing. If I go to the left, a demon crosses the path. If I go to the right, a demon's crossing the path. They're maintaining light in the parking lot, surveillance. And following me around with planes and helicopters, surveillance. Keeping a fake sun over my head, surveillance. 09947B2, those are demons in an ARCO engineered systems vehicle, license 9SQY870, 6T73300, P.O.C. All right, and the gym is engaged in all that violence. The gym is at 130 West G Street. They're already documented engaging in terrorism with the Ontario Police. That sits on the record, and it's relevant to what I'm documenting right now, meaning they're already established as a third party, and it's already known that they're gang stalking. So is that evidence that is highly probative as well, the fake sun rising and setting at this same exact parking lot. Okay, remember what I'm documenting, and the demons, the unintelligent demons of the Ontario Police, included itself in the video where I'm capturing the fake sun. I believe it's after 5 or 6 p.m. in this same exact parking lot. And this is what the demons do. Their tactic is supposed to be, you're distracted. It's not a distraction from the people of the... It's the dumbest thing I've ever captured, but it is beautiful with regard to evidence. Those demons flew right into that video under the fake sun that's at this same exact parking lot where I am in the morning getting up at the Tabor Professional Building, 7 o'clock in the morning. And remember, when Tracy is monitoring me inside of her apartment, where you will be prosecuted for gang stalking where you reside. All it does is make it very easy for the feds to know exactly where you're at. You are the government, not a private citizen, not on private property, and not engaging in any sort of private protected conduct at all. So that is literally prosecutorial suicide while I document you gang stalking me where you live. You don't have any right to do that. These are fools, okay? And so is Tracy Banks. These are fools. So the entity is stalking by commercial plane. The entity is stalking by helicopter under where the fake sun rises and sets and where the entity keeps the fake moon. There is not one night where the fake moon is remaining over here at Woodside or over the Tabor Professional Building because I'm not sleeping over here. And the entity has the fake sun, remember, at Woodside Senior Apartments from sunrise until sunset. That is not going to be over the plaza. If it was over the plaza adjacent to Woodside Senior Apartments, then it wouldn't have been over the top of my head at her front door at unit number 51. Speaking to targeting by this entity. And that whole parking lot sharing, and what is that impunity? By those little prepubescent cowards, okay, who are engaging in conduct because they feel they're delusional, they're demons. But they have a sense of audacity, some sense of ability to engage in conduct when they're actually little punks. And if I were a different type of person, they will be handled in a different type of way. But those are cowards that are relevant to the way that you handle that in a manner that is significant and that benefits other people is to deport them. It's to federally prosecute them, it's to put them in prison, and it's also to use them against the government with regard to removing corrupt agencies like the Ontario Police Department and removing corrupt and dangerous aspects to a corrupt government that's using airports and airlines, commercial planes. Those are weapons in the hands of demons. Those are murder weapons in the hands of demons. They're stalking me with planes and psychologically torturing me using planes in their positions to do so. They're engaging in murdering people with planes. They commit what are sacrifices. And then under the guise of, again, when you're not aware that domestic terrorism is underway routinely in the United States, it's discussed amongst the government in a congressional hearing, talking about what happened and what needs to be investigated and what we can do better next time. When it was a deliberate act of homicide. By demons, the demons that engage in gang stalking. This is understanding the domestic terrorist who is the gang stalking airlines of the Ontario International Airport, the gang stalking airport board, the gang stalking executive team, while they are also profiting from systematic terrorism. You are going to be shut down as an establishment while I'm documenting on the streets and on the roads and the highways ongoing terrorism that the government is facilitating through the demons of the Ontario International Airport. You're being shut down. It is the cause of what is loss of life. It's the cause of what is ongoing violence. It's the cause of facilitating that. And since it is a cause for all of that which is doing harm to the public, okay, you're going to be removed from existence. And this is to make a point with regard to terrorism not being tolerated in the United States. Not being tolerated under any circumstances. And one American citizen is important enough to make that sort of stance. Absolutely. And understand it's symbolic because I, as one American citizen, I represent American citizens altogether. You're making a stance about what is not tolerated in this country and that what no government can outpower and outnumber and basically usurp the constitutional and human rights of any person that has equal value under the Constitution. We have these principles under the law. That's what equal protection, that's the notion of that, equal protection under the Constitution. The entities engaging in this conduct, and this is relevant to a government that is basically conducting itself as though it can do whatever it wants and get away with it because it's the government. And that's exactly what's going to be proven wrong. That's exactly what's going to be contended with. That's exactly what's going to be destroyed, absolutely destroyed. I'm going to destroy that notion, that lie, that fallacy with the prosecution of the state of California. It's absolutely necessary. All right, it is currently, by the way, 10:10. This is P.O.C. All right, the entity engaged in an ongoing perpetual sex offense. The demons at what is 215 F Street. They're engaged in a sex offense, and I believe those are immigrants of that Iglesia church. They're routinely engaging in sexual violence. License 9 NNG033. That's another homosexual. That's a homosexual engaging in sexual violence. And they're coming from the venue of the gang stalking immigrants. And I believe at what is 215 F Street. I documented on video last night. I referred to that, and I'll go ahead and confirm that address. They're engaging in that conduct together, and they're doing so as a systematic means of stalking, which is, again, you're not just passing by with light. It's not even your headlights. It's engineer light. And second of all, you are taking that path while you're stalking me. And that's, again, the entity that's engaging in sexual violence. And you will be prosecuted as a sex offender that you are, and the sexually perverted mind that you have, the mens rea behind stalking with impossible light, pursuant to a criminal system of surveillance and furtherance of murder and kidnapping. You're going to be prosecuted as a sex offender, as a business, as a government, as an entity, and it will be going on the criminal records of the people of the state. I just want to be clear. It's going on the criminal record of demons that call themselves police officers and firefighters. You're going to be prosecuted as sex offenders. I don't think they understand that. It's going on your criminal record. Joseph Valencia, Vivanco, Hazelwood, C. Torres, you're going to be prosecuted as it's going on your criminal record under your name. On behalf of an entity, it's going under your name. Okay? That and more. It is currently, by the way, while the entity is engaging in sexual violence, it's 10:12 a.m. It's 10:12 p.m., 10:12 p.m., and I'm back at 537 North Euclid Avenue, and the entity is engaging what is stalking by flying much more north than the Ontario Town Square, than the ARCO parking lot, than the storefront, the Starbucks, the UNICARE healthcare center at E Street and Euclid, flying over the parking lot at G Street, and flying over G Street while I'm in the parking lot, facing that, again, south of my person. As I go up toward G Street, that's where those planes are stalking. The Ontario Board and executive team, they're going to be prosecuted as exposing how domestic terrorism is executed in the United States. And you're going to be prosecuted as a terrorist that you are. And Ontario International Airport Board Authority, whatever you want to call yourself, it's a misnomer. It's deceptive. First of all, you're demons, and you have a board of them and an executive team of them who are going to be prosecuted. You're going to get ready to be prosecuted. Get ready for airlines to be prosecuted as sex offenders and terrorists, because that's exactly what you are. Because it needs to be associated with that brand name and murder, that brand name and Satanism, that brand name and torture, that brand name and criminal activity, sexual violence, because that's exactly what they're doing. That is punishing the malice behind gang stalking in that manner in the first place, because the demons presuppose that when Delta Airlines is flying over, that is going to be presumed legitimacy, and no one's going to question it, and there's not any need for investigation because it's an airport, that's a plane, it's flying in the sky, and there's nothing. And by the way, that's because everybody in the city is gang stalking as well. But there is malice behind Delta Airlines and American Airlines and United Airlines and Southwest Airlines and Frontier Airlines and Amazon Prime Air. There's malice behind gang stalking using airlines, and you're going to punish them through a civil and criminal prosecution for that malice. They're exercising that malice, engaging in that malicious conduct to murder people. That's why they're doing that. You're going to be prosecuted. Get ready. You're going to be prosecuted. And it's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be very expensive, and it's going to be painful. It is currently 10:14 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, sexual assault and battery, license 9MZK390. Another homosexual lurking in the middle of the night, stalking a woman, wanting to touch on her body with engineer light. That's a demon. That's why she's a homosexual, because she's demon possessed. And that's also why she's stalking another woman as a covert homosexual, because she is demon possessed. Let me be more precise and specific. It is currently 10:19 p.m. She does so while the entity is simultaneously sounding amplified plane activity, which is demonic. It's P.O.C. El Pescado and the bucket crabs and crawfish are engaging in the sexual assault and battery as an entity. So is license 9DTJ757. Driving from this parking lot and engaging what is molesting me from across the street. This is what the sex offender Saris Regis group engaged in. While demon after demon after demon were molesting me with impossible light. Your headlights are not reaching across. This is what the demons of the Ontario Police Department engaged in. Specifically, it was Vivanco that also then came and engaged in a kidnapping. And he is simultaneously a demon gang stalking me. Look at the entity, how it is, again, has unclean hands and it is entirely biased. Also, while they make false allegations that they know are not true while they're demons monitoring me. Not only is that entire agency already established as targeting, but Vivanco is specifically a documented demon. And the impossible light activity, I captured him stalking in the middle of the night, molesting me from across the street. And I showed you the nature of that light activity while he's being a demon in a police vehicle, which is a federal offense. License 7VFD237, sex offender. License plate 9VLC365, sex offender. One demon after another coming through this parking lot to engage in molesting me at F Street in Euclid with the entity that's stalking in planes. While they're simultaneously listening to me document, those are the demons that are gratified and enjoy murdering people that they are gang stalking. That's the appetite of the sex offender. That's the bloodthirsty serial killer. These are not hyperbolic descriptions. This is the reality of the mentally ill who are engaged in monitoring. Demons stalking with light. License 9NGP820, stalking with light is relevant to surveillance. And the establishments are engaging in that sex offense and terrorism as well. The demons are right inside of the restaurants monitoring. They walk right outside, get in their car, and take the specific route in order to engage in molestation with impossible light. License 9DOE464, 8ZNJ919. And remember, the engineer light is not even the product of their headlights, so it's not necessary for them to be near me, for me to be hit with engineer light. It's not their headlights. But the reason why they are doing that is because it's the simultaneity of the elements crossing path with the engineer light. The engineer light is coming out of nowhere. I've documented. Where is the light coming from? If that's not coming from any vehicle or anything, I've documented that before. The demons are stalking in the path while engineer light is underway. Okay? Oh, the demon possessed. I'm going to go read these license plates over here, and it looks like an impoverished neighborhood, and they will not be able to afford legal fees. I'm going to document that. This is the entity that's gang stalking as a neighborhood, as a city, with the city of Ontario flying over your house, with the people of the state molesting with impossible light, while the entity is keeping a fake sun over me on Euclid Avenue. Everybody in the city of Ontario is gang stalking. All right, everybody within earshot is gang stalking. So is El Pescado. Let me get these little cowards license plate right quick. This is what's so funny. They engage in it and then they flee like cockroaches. They want to engage in molestation on the run. License 7WQV599, sex offender 40595Y3. And El Pescado is relevant for what is being raided, employing any immigrants, engaging in what are gang stalking patrons. The federal government can go raid at any time. And I guarantee you will come out with, first of all, everybody in there is engaging in terrorism, but I mean specifically with those subject to deportation, because it doesn't matter whether they have their papers in order or not. You're engaging in gang stalking, you're being deported for terrorism. 7MEJ798, 7PJS148. They're all sitting inside of the restaurant monitoring me while the entity's stalking me at the parking lot of the Pizza Hut, while the entity's stalking me by planes. They're all sitting in there enjoying their foods, gang stalking at the same time, coming out and then molesting with impossible light, and then going home after they engage in a little bit of terrorism for the day. This is why the gang stalking immigrant population is being deported. 6LSK166, EH13805 paper, 91799T3, and the entity is stalking, not flying over that plaza anymore where I'm located at the Pizza Hut. Over here, where I'm at, when I go back south down the street, that's where the planes are at. They are literally stalking in commercial planes. And they're doing it over a neighborhood where I can walk through, get everybody's license plate. Well, they are, I guarantee you they're on government assistance. Can't even pay their rent. License plate. And I guarantee you they're immigrants granted a privilege in this country. License 65819L3. All right, coming to engage in a molestation with a black truck. This is a homosexual. Yeah, this is a homosexual female, an old lady, engaging with a stalking in the middle of the night, and gratified by it, engaging, coming and tracking me down so she can touch. That's again 65819L3, gang stalking with El Pescado, gang stalking with bucket crab and crawfish, gang stalking with the city of Ontario. License 8CHN382. I'm gonna go get all her homeboys and homegirls over here in the in these broken down shacks. 7EOR791 66392W2. I'm gonna go get all her little broke down homegirls that are monitoring with her, sharing in that sexual violence. I'm gonna go get all her buddies that she's engaged in sexual assault and battery with. License 7MEJ798 is included. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, those are, again, that's the average predator that is engaging in criminal activity. License 9TYY666, 9HTB693. License plate, El Pescado is at G Street in Euclid, documenting the fake sun at 6-7 in the morning. Documenting the fake stone on that same street over me. Look at the documentation from the Route 66 show. You'll see the demons of the Ontario police at this same intersection, and the fake sun is setting. That's the same city of Ontario that's gang stalked with El Pescado. License 7TGR156, 7TQM621, 7VPS897. And those that are in this country, granted a privilege to do so, they take pride in and enjoy terrorism. And they do so because, and also in concert with the government that enjoys it. And they enjoy it because they are mentally ill. These are demons. And they enjoy it, by the way, in a covert, secret system that is unspoken. So they are engaging in psychologically torturing people, and harassing people, and sexually violating people, thinking that it's funny and it's entertaining regarding what they know someone is doing in the bathroom. And it's all a secret amongst the demons that are engaging in that sexual violence together. And it's speaking to what is targeting and violating an American citizen. They derive pleasure from it. That's what's molesting me in the middle of the night. This is what's engaging in surveillance in the dark parking lot. Okay, you heard that ignition start because this demon was just sitting in the dark stalking. License plate 91799T3. He's sharing in sexual assault and battery. Okay, his homegirl molesting me, and his homegirl, they are affiliated because they're all demons. And under the law, they're all co-defendants. That's why I'm using those terms. They literally are homegirls and homeboys. They're on the same team as far as being prosecuted. All right? Engaging in sexual violence, gang stalking inside of their homes, which is called relevant positioning. Where the government's engaging in what is amplified audible activity. And the demons are molesting me with light. You are gang stalking where you live. They're all engaging in surveillance on their communication devices, and all these demons that are in their homes know exactly where I'm at and know what I'm saying. And guess what? Even the Spanish-speaking ones, you think that they don't understand, and that's a spirit. That's not true. They know exactly who I am. They're engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct with knowledge. Satan has no linguistic barriers. 7SHX108. 8NGY996. Where the government is stalking you in a neighborhood with planes and helicopters, you prosecute that whole neighborhood. The whole city is targeting you. 6NIA686. 9K, hold on. 9KDT268. There are no planes taking off over. This is now. It's not taking off over Lemon Avenue, where the housing authority is. Now it's taking off over here. Let me get an address. 7MWW181. Yeah, this looks like 609. Amplified noise, and a demon is simultaneously creeping down the street. I'm gonna get this demon's license plate. 8BIZ637. That's demonic synchronicity. That's a stalker. License plate. 4LLN810. Okay, clearly needs a new car, cannot afford it, and is stalking in the middle of the night. I want to be clear, a prosecution for domestic terrorism is going to be the most costly thing that the demon possesses, especially in this neighborhood over here, are going to bear. 5JNG499. You cannot pay your rent, but yet you're gang stalking. That's what's going to be, literally the prosecution and the pain of it is a part of justice as well. 6JIB539. License 7EEZ984. Molesting 9FFU616. License 8NNP313. A license 9SWZ294. All right, and now when you heard that vehicle in the background, there simultaneously a cockroach, just like a cockroach. It just has a cockroach with headlights on it. At the same time, this cockroach creeps out from the street, and I can see their headlights at the same exact time. Those are demons that are in sync. Monitoring, that's noise and light and presence in the path. License 9MSA446. That's what they're doing with the planes and the helicopters. In concert with the cockroaches that are on the ground all around me, including in their homes, where the federal law is not hindered at all from getting you. This is what an entity is doing when I am in Ontario. I've already documented walking through the neighborhood, and who was stalking me by helicopter as I started documenting them? The Ontario Police Department. Following me as I'm documenting the people of the state in their neighborhood, where they're targeting me. All right, and they're targeting me with the Ontario Police, who used a helicopter to engage in harassing me while I'm documenting them. Let me get back there. But this is P.O.C. and it's currently, by the way, I'm going to go back and get my stuff. It's currently 10:29 p.m. That's the entity stalking with plane. and it's currently 10:30 p.m. I took a screenshot already showing you what is the the times of arrivals and departures of the planes. So the entities engaging in this flight over here at what is F Street and Lemon. F Street and Lemon is where I'm at. P.O.C. Let me look for my bag quick. Alrighty, I had to collect my property really quick. License plate 9PER859. P.O.C. This is again Lemon and F as in Frank. Alright, that's amplified audible activity, where demons know where I'm located. They're surrounding with noise and light, and that is given context because they're monitoring inside of their homes. Impulsive light activity, no car driving by, nothing that's happening, just light swiping across the property. These are demons. That impulsive light activity is letting you know about the presence of demons and demonic activity. Okay, it's paranormal, supernatural, whatever terms you want to use, but that's what it is. This is indeed the Nephilim, and I'm prosecuting them for proof of stalking. And the demons are stalking people together that they want to, they're trying to sacrifice someone. It's worse than a scary movie. It's murder committed by a demon-possessed population. And they engage in, as I've shown the state of California, but the city of Ontario as of late, using all the resources of a whole city. That's how important the sacrifice is. That's how much priority, that's how obsessed also. Becoming obsessed with the one you're worshiping. When you're engaging in demonic conduct, when you're engaging in witchcraft and spell work, you're worshiping the person that you are stalking. That's idolatry. And when they're engaging in spirits, again, the combination of the amplified noise and another demon coming. When they're engaged in worshiping, let me read this terrorist license plate. License plate, stalking. 9UHL629, that's a psychopath. That's a psychopath. And that's a demon that knows who I am. Okay? These are not strangers, these are demons. And when you're engaging in witchcraft, when you're engaging in stalking someone, it's a form of idolatry. You're worshiping that person. And the demons that are engaging in gang stalking are obsessed. They are addicted based on the demonic spirits that fill them, that are consuming them with everything concerning me. It is literally mental illness. They are indeed, they're actually addicted and obsessed with stalking me. Not only are they stalking, they're obsessed with stalking me. And that is based on their mental illness. Okay, so that's again the fascination, the obsession, the consumption, the necessity of being in the bathroom next to me. It's not about them relieving themselves. It's about maintaining surveillance. And it's also about the knowledge. Oh, they know that I'm in the bathroom and I'm unclothed. Oh, and it's concerning my genitalia. A demon wants to be, and remember, when it's one, it's the entire entity. You're dealing with a spirit. You're not talking to one person. You're talking and it's also in the physical. You're engaged in surveillance. It's public information. You're talking to an entity when you're having a conversation with anybody. But not only that, you're dealing with a spirit. When you're talking to one demon-possessed person, you're talking to that spirit that fills millions of people at the same time. So I'll let you think about that. License 7EJU276. And so when one is coming in, understand it's an entity. It's both the public entity, as I'm prosecuting, it's the demonic entity that wants to be near my exposed anatomy. They want to be near my genitalia. It's an obsession with me, and specifically with what is sacred, with what's private. They're sex offenders, okay? That's a sex offender's mindset. That's literally what they are obsessed with. 82380C4. 8ARE448. And you have what are the wicked, who are very much, they have seared spirits. They don't have a conscience. They have in many ways told themselves and been around people that also jointly agree with the lie that it's okay. So this is why they engage in sexual violence with no conscience whatsoever. Very hard-hearted with regard to the wicked and perverted and sick behaviors that they practice, especially while they're gang stalking. And so this is where you get to the point where you both have a toddler, you have a daughter, for example, and you're monitoring the vagina of another person. You're sexually violating another woman, and you also have a minor child at the same time, a daughter, if you will. That's the combination, those coexisting facts, because you're dealing with what are, again, compartmentalized conduct, very unhealthy. Finding it okay to engage in serial killing, and then going home and acting as though nothing even happened. That's that other part of the life of your life. And then when I go home, I'm a dad to 2.5 kids, and I take care of my wife, and I go work at the post office, you know, and I just do my job from 9 to 5. But every Tuesday and Saturday night, I go do a couple killings. All right, that's the compartmentalization of that. That's relevant to the psychopaths who are demon-possessed, who engage in this conduct. This is a way of life for the demon-possessed. It's an unspoken system, all right? They don't talk about it. It's unspoken, but this is the reality. It's a fact, and I've proven what the demons will not speak of, and you ain't got to say nothing. You don't have to say anything. In fact, it's pregnant silence, because you're speaking volumes. Everything that you're doing is speaking, and most importantly, you're speaking to the federal government. That's what you're speaking to. All right, and you're speaking that which you don't want to be saying. You didn't want to make any of those statements. All right, but the entity does, and the entity has been engaging in that, and the entity did so because they thought that at the first place that I was going to be dead and nobody's going to listen to me as well. That they were going to be successful in defaming me. License 7CLP668. That's why they engaged in, I mean, the prosecution is so complete. The fact that the Ontario Police is a stalker is already established years ago. The fact that the Ontario International Airport is a stalker, very fully established, proven, beyond a reasonable doubt, and to a scientific degree. It's already proven. So they're still gang stalking now, and that's going to be relevant, but it's already proven. It's already proven. And there are things that I also am going to require, and I suggest, because I want it to be understood fully. You are going to investigate takeoffs from the plane, from the airport. You're going to investigate that, see what that looks like. And I'm going to let you know the documentation is showing what it does not entail. Because there's no mistake here. I already proved it years ago, though. But they will be prosecuted for it because it's relevant to civil and criminal prosecution and damages, which are incalculable. Sexual violence through an airport? Who has ever heard of that? It's unfathomable. But it's a fact. It's actually underway. They're engaging in facilitating sexual violence that is going to be relevant, and it's directly related to prosecuting a whole government. And then remember, the government makes up people. Those people that make up that government engaging in that conduct, it's going on your criminal record. It's not going to be under some umbrella where you're just some vague, this is domestic terrorism. And guess what? Just like any other terrorist that will be known, we have what is a problem in California. We have a problem in this country, and it's domestic terrorism, and it's homegrown. So you have what is, again, what we could not have fathomed, and it's horrible, but this is the reality, is that terrorists are by the thousands, by the millions. And it's based on their condition, and you do need to know because they're murdering people. They're murdering people. All right, they're very sick and mentally ill. They think in their minds that they can steal your skin and walk around in it. Like, that's the type of aspirations that they have. That's the level of delusion and obsession that they have when they're stalking and monitoring somebody. They want to wear your skin. And at the same time, they are engaged in what is outwardly presenting as though you're the least important person in the planet to them. This is the whole point of stalking amongst us, what's supposed to be strangers. That's the purpose behind that. And it's also a purpose for what is psychological torture. But nonetheless, those license plates, they're all engaging in sexual violence. El Pescado, the buckets and crabfish, they're engaged in sexual violence. And so is this venue, F Street and Lemon, and I documented over there before. And the entity is engaged in gang stalking. I'm being molested as I'm walking down the street. The Ontario Police did engage in what are stalking me over there. Also, while I'm exposing what are potential immigrants that are engaging in the pattern of conduct. That's what you don't want to be caught doing. And not only are you caught, you're speaking to the entire immigrant population now. And that's just because of the nature of the crime. You know, it's not just the city of Ontario, right? It's the state of California. Every immigrant that I don't have to meet. I don't have to document every immigrant in the state of California to blow the whistle on what they are all doing with the government. The entire state is engaged in criminal surveillance. The entire state's engaged in gang stalking me. My documentation shows that no matter where I go, this is where an entity is maintaining that environment. If I go to Northern California, guess what is going to be over the top of my head? And it's impossible that that would be the natural environment. Speaking to an ongoing environment conducive to criminal surveillance. And why are they surveilling and gang stalking me? Because the entity has conspired my murder to also get away with stealing my money, my property, my identity, my creations, my inventions. That's why. The entire population, the entire state, every single official, every mayor. Okay. Karen Bass, Paul Leon, and Aquanetta Warren, representing what, San Bernardino County and Los Angeles County. Karen is the demon-possessed, gang-stalking, incompetent mayor in Los Angeles. The lawlessness going on there, which you now know is because they're demons. This is why they refer to themselves as the City of Angels. They're not lying to you. I said that before. They are the City of Dark Angels, i.e. demons. Satan is being very honest with you. You just have to understand what Satan is saying. The pattern of conduct is right in front of your face. You just have to recognize what you're looking at. They are a city of demons. And so is Karen Bass. And that criminal conduct is happening on her watch. And that's criminal conduct that she's a part of. She's a part of the same community, part of the same criminal system, license plate, 8BWG628, sex offender as an entity. Taking this route because they want to touch my thighs and my breasts and my body with impossible light monitoring. 7FOR791, and Paul Leon is sharing in that sex offense. The criminal in Ontario, calling himself a mayor. He's a part of the same community. Guess what? All that demon has to do is hop in his car, gang stalking right along with the rest of them. He's a demon. He's a demon. Every level of government in the city of Ontario is already documented. Do you think it's an exception with Paul Leon? It is not. And in fact, he's a fake gang stalking mayor. He's a fake gang stalking mayor, and I documented the fake son over me at his little fake church where a bunch of demons congregate. He's not a real pastor, and he's also not a real mayor. That has an actual term. Because a demon puts on the costume and calls himself one thing or another, or calls herself one thing, that does not make it true. Satan is playing dress up. 9SNA817, sex offender. Satan is playing dress up. And I'm ripping that mask off so that you can see it. And you need to understand the necessity of removing, as with regard to making statements to the demon-possessed, to murderers that are roaming around free, and have a sense of what is a hostility toward being exposed, like the demons that I'm encountering, harassing on behalf of the government, hostile because you're being documented, because you're being prosecuted, because you're accustomed to engaging in lawlessness and criminal conduct and violence, and the government facilitates it. The government even relies on you to do it. They rely on you to do that. Those are the very ones that are going to be prosecuted and made an example of. These are demons. This is lawlessness. And it's going to get worse. Okay, it's going to get worse, but this has very much an ability to be identified and to be dealt with in court. And where the entity is losing a lot of money, where the entity is being exposed, I want to be clear, nobody wants to be associated with demon possession. Oh, they don't want that. It's too late though, but I'm going to let you know they don't want that. They don't want to be associated with demon possession. They don't want to be associated, and that's because it is not yet the time where people are openly hailing Satan. That time is coming, where people are openly hailing Satan and exclaiming their possession by Satan, and try to make it seem as though and speaking as though that's just something to do. Right now, there is a radical, small portion of the population that does that, but it's seeking to get to that level, but it's not there yet. Nobody wants to be associated with demon possession. License 9AT1711, sex offense, molestation. All right, the entities engaged. Nobody wants to be associated with being a sex offender, demon possessed or not. Nobody wants to be associated with being a sex offender. That's what every single last demon is. It is literally a public service because I'm exposing predators and doing so by gang stalking. The entities engaged in, I'm documenting the entity that's gang stalking me. Understand that these are people that go home and they molest kids and they've never been prosecuted for it. They're engaged in accumulating child porn. They're engaged in taking advantage of women and men that don't consent to it. They are literally sex offenders, and they're also gang stalking me at the same time. This is collecting and exposing a lot of criminals, a lot of lawlessness at one time. I just want to be clear on that. And I want to be clear, the demon possessed are the ones that engage in those egregious acts of violence and sexual violence. It's a spirit. It's a spirit. And on top of that, I do want to be clear. The entity, for example, this government, the Ontario Police, San Bernardino County Sheriff, did you know they're engaged in trafficking children, sex trafficking, pedophilia, gang stalkers. This entity is engaged in specifically preying upon children in a sexual manner. So that is a specific offense that is concentrated on by these demons. They prey upon children, and I spoke as to why. Sucking the spiritual life out of impressionable, young, innocent vessels. That's behind sexually violating them. And demons do that. Demons that are molesting me with impossible light. They are engaged in sexual violence amongst children. They're pedophiles that are gang stalking. And that includes of the Ontario Police Department. That includes of the City of Ontario. There's no exception. That includes of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. That includes of the state of California. The pedophiles are the demon possessed. And guess what? Many of them are not convicted. Many of them do not have an open case regarding pedophilia. Many of them are engaged in this system of surveillance. Many of them are a part of this demonic cult, this witch coven, because this is how they fester and engage in what is spiritually sucking the life out of people. They violate children, and they do this as a demon-possessed population. The government simultaneously maintains a criminal justice system, and you'll see on the news, oh, we cracked a case, we found this, these people were harboring a whole bunch of children that were being neglected and kept in a basement and being starved, and they were found naked and they were sexually violated. That is the entity that's engaging in a sacrifice, and I want to be clear, this is what the demon-possessed routinely practice, number one. The entity maintains a criminal justice system, so they will maintain what is saving face. So they both maintain a criminal justice system where it appears as though they're prosecuting that type of conduct, meaning they're not a part of it because they're prosecuting. There's a criminal justice system. And at the same time, that same government is engaging in literally existing, feeding off of that. They rely on it. They're demons. This is what the Nephilim are relying on. These people are dead. They rely on the spiritual source of innocent children that they sexually violate, that they starve, that they abuse. It's psychological torture. They're sucking the spiritual life out of innocent children, and a lot of that includes what is sexually violating them, and they do it at a very young age. And the government that I'm documenting, that I'm prosecuting, that I'm publicly investigating, they're engaged in pedophilia. The sexual violence behind stalking with impossible light is letting you know the sex offenders that they are, the sexual violence, the predatory nature of the demented minds that engage in that conduct. There's a predatory nature to stalking with light. All right. But anyway, this is the entity that's engaged in that. And I went through that parking lot because all of those demons are sharing in a sex offense. They're just coming from behind buckets, crab, and crawfish, coming from that parking lot over there, coming from that housing area over there. And they're coming and specifically driving right here to touch all over me with light. That's a sex offender. And those are the same ones that engage in having sex with minor children, also seeking to psychologically torture them, suck spiritual life out of them. Okay. Now, what they're doing to me, I am documenting it in order to prosecute them and expose who need to be known, pedophiles, because the government's not prosecuting them because the government's a pedophile. Okay? As I'm prosecuting, exposing documentation regarding the P.O.C, I am exposing pedophiles. I need you to understand that. That's the truth. They're pedophiles. The demon-possessed gang stalkers, the Nephilim, are pedophiles. Very specific. Very specific. They prey upon children as demons, as people who are dead, to suck the spiritual life out of a child that is young and innocent. They haven't been corrupted, if you will, by the world yet. They are spiritually vulnerable with regard to putting spirits on them. This is literally why they specifically prey upon children. I am not just stating, oh, they're pedophiles and they're robbers and they're bad people. They are pedophiles. I'm documenting pedophiles. I'm being gang stalked by pedophiles. Okay, just want to make sure that that's clear. This is the P.O.C, and it's 10:50 p.m. And I did return to 537 North Euclid Avenue. I just wanted to go get license plates of sex offenders that are sharing in that sexual violence, and it is also by establishment. All right, they're all surrounded with the evidence of the specific environment, both the fake sun rising and setting on this street. Even Economy Inn at 2301 South Euclid Avenue, the sun is not going to rise and set at 537 North Euclid Avenue. That's one street in one city. Less than 3 miles apart. Okay, a demon coming from behind bucket crabs and crawfish hasn't even crossed the street. Impossible light is hitting behind me on the bench. That's a demon that's targeting me and knows exactly who I am. Okay? Every license plate that I just read is sharing in ongoing terrorism, like I stated before. Those are demons that are not strangers, okay? Turning onto Euclid Avenue. I'm taking a picture of it right now. 10:51 p.m. That's, again, the entity that is stalking. And that includes, guess who does that as well? It's not different. The Ontario Police Department does the same thing. It's not headlights. Even if they use their powerful spotlight, that's engineered light. And they are showing you that they're mentally ill. The mental illness is exhibited through their light conduct, through the stalking conduct, and through the amplified noise conduct. The demons the demon that's coming toward me in a vehicle that's aiming light in the path, and the demon that's in the distance, the guise of what is amplified noise, they're mentally ill. That's the entity that's sharing mental illness. Stalking with noise is psychopathic. Stalking with light is psychopathic. Stalking as a population, including under a fake sun, they're psychopaths. The demon possessed are the psychopaths. Okay, but like I said, it is currently 10:52 p.m. This is license 8 Victor Wendy Edward 305, 7 Apple Charlie Frank 248, 6 Charlie Sam Bob 480, 8 Mary Wendy 402, 8 Yolanda 19805, 8 Apple Victor Frank 184, 6 Xavier David Nancy 034, 8 David George Apple 447, 9 Sam Thomas Xavier 462, 5 WVV 830, molesting on behalf of the government, a sex offender, stalking in the path, maintaining impossible light activity, while U.S.C, the City of Ontario, is stalking with commercial planes and maintaining amplified noise in the environment while demons are engaging in a perpetual sex offense. Molestation everywhere while demons are stalking with light, just like you saw inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, just like you saw at that location where the fake sun remained until after 5 p.m. The same place where you saw the demons, the City of Ontario, the Ontario Police Department, stalking in a police vehicle. That is the identification of a terrorist to be disbanded. This is P.O.C. License 37800 Henry 3. License 8 Xavier Edward Robert 812, I believe. License 8 David Thomas Sal, or 8 David Thomas Sam 238. 7 David Henry Jerry 419. 9 Thomas Larry Wendy 684. 8 Robert Charlie George 173. 9 Mary Tom 001. 9 Larry Sam Edward 085. 9 Victor Tom Bob 015. 9 Paul Sam George 710. 9 Mary Victor Bob 878. 63 Kelly 318, that's Nevada. DK1 M731, that is that's a Texas plate. Unity stalking with plane activity over here where I'm at 537 North Euclid Avenue. Stalking while I'm on the bus bench. License at 11:10 p.m. by the way. 9 Robert Paul Zebra 500, which is exactly what this third party was doing with the Ontario International Airport, stalking me at the Pizza Hut at 715 North Euclid Avenue. This is what the airport was doing, again, at around 9:54 p.m. And these are demons that are engaging in the pattern of conduct stalking with light in the environment, molesting my person with light. This is a sex offense, and it's pursuant to criminal monitoring with the government that's targeting by flying north up this street where I'm located at this time at 715 North Euclid Avenue. That's, again, license 9 RPZ 500. License 94942 Xavier 2. I might have read that one already in real time when they were monitoring. So I'm going to recite it again though. No takeoffs from the airport. This is hovering over the same plaza. Impossible light across that wall. You saw that? Not headlights. They're stalking together in the sky space and on the roads and the highways. This is all light activity. And this is the entity that's engaging in this conduct when I'm at the support professional building. Never flying over here unless I'm over here. And neither are there any planes arriving nor departing from the airport or to the airport hovering in this manner. This is the City of Ontario stalking. And they're doing so, I want to be clear, with the demons I'm documenting in a black Mustang, engaging what is harassing me and admittedly doing so with a minor child. The entity engaging what is criminal activity and then fearful of being documented and resorts to harassment. That's relevant to the government's prosecution. These are demons engaging what is surveillance, stalking with light. That's what that demon is doing with the vehicle lights on. And they're molesting me with impossible light, walking out the Pizza Hut, a sex offender stalking in the path. That's what they're of. What is Bank of America, surrounded with light activity. That's a demon. Okay, that's P.O.C. The City of Ontario has no flights that are going to hover over here from 2500 Archibald Road, and the entities engaging in this, where I'm capturing the fake sun literally rising and setting right here at this plaza. And this is G Street. On the opposite side of this plaza, the fake sunset as well. This is P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, for the City of Ontario, that's Ronald Leverage, Jim Bowman, Kurt Hagman, Julia Gu, and Alan D. Wapner, okay, engaged in stalking me throughout the city with airline planes, okay? Every airline is engaged in terrorism with the City of Ontario, and that terrorist board is going to be prosecuted for it. P.O.C. Pay attention to the list that I provided of arrivals and departures. This is not published on the website, neither is this going to be included in any departures from the airport occurring in concert with crossing of path and engineer light by the people of the state. This is P.O.C. Stalking with planes, maintaining surveillance. This is pacing as they go back and forth, and they're doing it in engineer light. So here's my shadow over here. This is a demon stalking with light over here. I already got their license plate. This is my shadow over here appearing in the shade of the bush, okay, extending. And there's another one that's higher up here, multiple shadows. This is engineer light. This is the entity stalking in the City of Ontario. Having a demon with flashers we're on over here. The demons of going to Bank of America, they're stalking via the drive-thru right here. And that's the prosecution of the businesses that are engaging in criminal surveillance. The entity is doing the same thing at the Ontario Town Square, using the Wells Fargo as a means of stalking in the path with light. Okay, flying over the Ontario Town Square. Not flying down there, flying right here where I am, stalking, okay? P.O.C. And that's, again, seconds later. It's 9:54 p.m. 9 PSG 710, stalking with the Ontario International Airport, stalking with light, which is terrorism and a sex offense committed by demons that are filling the parking lot, followed by this demon. Impossible light swiping across, that's a demon, it's not headlights. License plate. 9 RPZ 500, P.O.C. And they're doing so with the Ontario International Airport that just flew over, so they were stalking over here, and now they're moving over here, which is demonic pacing and engineer light. And this is impunity. So I just want to be clear, the entity under the guise of I'm gonna molest and stalk with impossible light, and I'm just gonna go to the drive-thru at the bank. I'm just gonna go to the bank and the ATM. They're going to be federally prosecuted, and the City of Ontario is gonna be prosecuted as well. This is P.O.C., and this is also relevant to deportation of the gang stalking immigrants in California. P.O.C. there's no takeoff over here on Euclid Avenue. Starbucks is stalking. Starbucks is gang stalking by having a third party under the guise of having legitimate business. It's totally illegitimate and it's corrupt. The infamous QDC. Gang stalking again. I was capturing them gang stalking last night, and they are gang stalking again. They are systematically gang stalking, as a matter of fact, and that's going to be relevant to prosecuting corrupt companies like I believe it's QDC, quality control distributions, or quality distribution center acronym. They're demons that are using what is a means of light activity. While you're looking at a demon, I took pictures of it, so you will see what you heard is the sound that's supposed to be some sort of takeoff, but you're not taking off from the airport when you're taking off over Euclid Avenue, which is miles away from the airport. And it's also specific to what is the engineered environment that surrounds me. This is also where the fake sun rises and sets, where the entity is stalking with planes. Okay, method of light activity. All right, this is Starbucks that's gang stalking. While Starbucks has any sort of customer gang stalking, Starbucks is going to be prosecuted. While Starbucks has any sort of employee that's gang stalking, Starbucks is going to be prosecuted. While Starbucks has any sort of company targeting with them, like QCD, Quality Custom Distribution, they're creating light activity with the city of Ontario that is stalking with planes. This is what the people of the state are doing while they're molesting me with impossible light, and the entity is stalking with planes. This is what the entity is doing when they're keeping a fake sun over me, and the entity is stalking with planes. Stalking with light is demonic. It's relevant to terrorism. And it's also a sex offense committed by Quality Custom Distribution. I'm going to document them again because they are systematically engaged in criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder. That's a criminal case against the company and also the third parties. And the company is going to produce their gang stalking employees. They're going to produce it, but they're also going to be prosecuted. That's relevant to what is a basic prosecution is discovery. I'm going to prosecute you, and you're also going to provide me the name of the employees, who was driving, what they were delivering, where they went. All of that's going to be provided, and I'm going to prosecute them, and they're engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct with the city of Ontario. Again, this is not a private company. It's a third party. This is the government going by the name of Quality Custom Distribution, engaging in the P.O.C. All right, and this is an entity that's engaging in bullying an American citizen, and doing so, this is public corruption while you use a business as a guise of always stalking in the path with light activity. There's no coincidence in engineer light. My shadow is upright, so let me go ahead and document this for you real quick. This is where the entity just flew over by plane, where the entity is stalking by helicopter. That's the prosecution of QCD. By the way, this is the foolishness that they provide. This is my shadow right here. Two of them upright. Those are the demons of the Ontario Police not helping QCD that I just documented gang stalking. All right, the Ontario Police are stalking in the path with the Ontario International Airport, and they're doing so while I am documenting the people of the state molesting with impossible light. And while my shadow is appearing, let me show you this. My shadow's over here appearing upright on the wall. And here's my shadow's also on the ground over here. The Ontario Police are demons. The employee driving the Quality Custom Distribution, that's a demon. The demon that's hovering over Euclid Avenue with a commercial plane, I took a picture of it. It's flying very low to the ground, and you can hear that plane. You're not going to hear any plane that took off from the airport, and it's certainly not going to hover over the storefront where it's taking off from the airport. They're not taking off from an airport, flying miles away from the airport next to me. While I am in engineered light. That's the airport stalking. The airport board is stalking. The airport executive board is stalking. And so is the Ontario International Airport. That was helicopter activity. You already know who's being removed. LORENZ is being removed for any and everything that I've already prosecuted the Ontario Police Department for. And all the gang stalking kidnappers of that agency are going to prison for the ongoing evidence proving that they committed kidnappings, not lawful arrests or even false arrests. A false arrest is a tortious act. They engage in criminal activity pursuant to targeting. They're going to prison for kidnapping in furtherance of murder. It's currently 11:26 p.m. This is P.O.C. They're all stalking. While you see that light activity, those are demons that are stalking with impossible light. There's my shadow back here, and here's my shadow right here. These are all demons. It's the city of Ontario. This is the Nephilim, and they keep my vagina under surveillance. This is the government that's engaging in sexual violence. These are companies engaging in sexual violence. This is the entity that's engaging in what is stalking together as a demon-possessed, that is a mentally ill, that is a sexually depraved and demented population of sick people that are acting together to murder someone. That's what gang stalking is. This is P.O.C. All right, capturing video of that. I'm going to upload that to the drive. And the entity is engaged in what is audible activity of helicopter activity. The helicopter activity occurs as I document QCD. QCD is threatening my life and safety while the Ontario Police are participating in the pattern of conduct while I'm documenting QCD. I'm going to prosecute that company for threatening me like that, because that's literally what they do. That's how that operation works, and that's how it's going to be prosecuted. You're sharing in the elements of real time with the police. Be prepared to go to prison. Okay, you're going to federal prison, so you're going from just engaging, well, not just because it's not a small thing, but you're going from catching a federal case to catching prison time. And you are also, I want to be clear, you're a candidate for federal prison when you are systematically engaging in criminal monitoring like QCD employees. That company is systematically monitoring under the guise of corrupt business with Starbucks. And you already know that those demons are going to prison for kidnapping on July 4th, 2025. They're going to federal prison. They're looking at the evidence being uploaded every day. They're going to prison. You're not getting out of it. And the demons of the Ontario Police they've made it worse when they don't have a case. I don't care how much money Starbucks has. They're going to prison. I'm gonna let you know how it's gonna end right now. They're going to federal prison. It is currently 11:28 p.m. This is P.O.C. and that was the entity stalking me by planes. And as I document that on video, the entity starts stalking by helicopter. That's the entity that's going to be disbanded. You're not going to terrorize an American citizen who's going to enforce their right for you to not murder them. You're going to be disbanded for it. That's the enemy of the United States. That's also the basis of deporting the gang stalking immigrants. This is the reason for the lawlessness. This is the reason for the violence. This is the reason for the harassment by the terrorists that are doing so by the support of that corrupt agency that's engaging in criminal activity and facilitating criminal activity and public corruption. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:29 p.m. WVV 830. This is the sex offender stalking with the Ontario International Airport as well, while I am at F Street and Euclid Avenue. P.O.C. (11:37 p.m. You see the demons on. This is a coward. That's also a demon. When they're flying off, as I begin uploading, the amplified helicopter clapping resumes. As I start recording, it dies down again. I captured videos, so you already see Mike LORENZ that's going to be prosecuted for terrorism in Ontario by that agency. And the entity is resuming that. So I'm going to go ahead and record because they're engaged in ongoing threatening behavior in furtherance of murdering me, stalking me in a helicopter. And I want to be clear, the demons of the Ontario Police are surrounding me right now, hiding on alleys and corners and in dark alleys, stalking around the perimeter. The Ontario Police Department are stalking in police vehicles, just like the people of the state are, conspicuously, while they're stalking me by helicopters. So don't misunderstand what the pattern of conduct is. That agency is being prosecuted. But the entity is sounding helicopter activity right now while I'm on YouTube, preparing to upload the video of them stalking me at what is 9:20 p.m., 9:50 p.m., 9:53 p.m., 9:56 p.m., and 11:25 and 11:32 p.m. These are videos that I captured, and I will be uploading them now. The entity is engaging in the documented pattern as I upload evidence. The entity engages in what is threatening by stalking in helicopters. This is what is putting kidnappers in prison. This is what your ability to identify in kidnapping versus what is a lesser charge. It's a crime, and it's inappropriate, and it's unacceptable to be harassed by the police. But understand that this is not merely harassment. This is domestic terrorism, and that's the distinction. Upon facts of federal group stalking and monitoring, you're going to prison. You're going to federal prison. It's not an administrative hearing. It's not some due process rights that they have as a police officer exercising their duties, albeit incorrectly or inappropriately or improperly. It is federal group stalking and monitoring. That's domestic terrorism. There are no due process rights for any police officer. That's not a police officer. That's not any protected conduct. That's nothing having to do with anything concerning the duties of an officer. The entities engaging in domestic terrorism and wearing those uniforms is relevant to malice and getting away with kidnapping, getting away with murder, getting away with targeting. And you're going to federal prison for that. That's the distinction. That's the distinction. And the entity is going to federal prison for my documented over years of what is ongoing public means of harassment as an entity and as an entire police department. Engaging in what is repeatedly kidnapping. The entity engaging in what is making malicious assertions, not merely false, They're not false as in they don't know that they're not false. They're engaged in surveillance at the same time making what are, that's the definition of malice, of malicious assertions. They're going to prison for that. You're going to federal prison. The entity is engaged in targeting you by police departments because the entity intends to take your life, and do so under the badge, the facilitation, the enabling criminal and corrupt conduct of a police department that will cover your tracks, that will share in that criminal conduct with you. That will provide a way that that target individual will be no more and no one's going to question it. Okay, that's the purpose, and that's the unlawful threat behind gang stalking police departments. That's terrorism in the United States, and that is no less than federal prison. You're going to federal prison for that. It is currently 11:40 p.m. So I just want to document that. Again, these are cowards. So the entity is flying at a distance. If I'm not recording, the entity engaging just flying over my head, just over and over again, clapping. The demons showing and manifesting with the amplified helicopter. Those demons are manifesting. The demons are manifesting. When you see them flying in circles, that's a demon manifesting before your eyes. Okay? When you see them under the fake sun that remains over me, you're looking at demons manifesting. You're not going to see a red tail. You're not going to see them levitating in the air. You will see demons that are actually demon-possessed people are going to continuously progress with regard to being hideous creatures that are not going to look human. They're going to look less and less human. They're going to engage in less and less quote-unquote normal conduct they've been trying to hide amongst human beings, amongst us. They're going to continuously progress with regard to showing the hideous beasts that they are, and that they are in the spirit. But right now, this is an entity that is manifesting, and I'm letting you know about what they are, and I've also proven the truth about what it is that I'm telling you that they're doing in the spirit, and what they're doing as I'm prosecuting it with tangible evidence. And you're going to witness the ongoing progression of the Nephilim. They're going to become more and more hideous. They're going to become more and more demonic and dark, and what is more and more creepy and unbecoming and peculiar with regard to them being demons in the first place. But right now, the entities sought to hide amongst human beings and try to be as normal. And not only that, not only try to present as normal, but try to falsely depict the target individuals that the demons are targeting. They try to falsely depict the character of the normal people as being the other. Okay? That's the entity that's gang stalking. Okay. So let me go ahead and get a picture of this. You can hear the audible activity. Oh, the entity's flying right over my head. Okay, targeting, just so that you know that. That's the entity that is targeting. Flying right over me, just like the Ontario International Airport targeting. While I'm at the Pizza Hut, that's where they're flying. When I'm at the 537 North Euclid Avenue, they're flying right next to me. When I'm at the Ontario Town Square, they're flying next to me. When I'm at the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library, they're flying right there over the 280 North Limit Apartments, right there by me. When I'm at the Chevron, they're flying right here over the ARCO. Right there south of me. The entity flying over the top of my head, and those are, again, fools that are calling themselves making a point. Oh, I'm not a coward. I'm not scared to be documented and go to federal prison. I'll fly over the top of your head. Those are the demons that are going to prison. Okay, it's P.O.C. The entities engaging in that conduct while they are monitoring evidence at the same time. That's speaking to the level of that predator, the level of that murderer that's engaging in that conduct with the people of the state. Okay, do you know who's going to ARCO? A gang stalker. The entity is engaged in stalking, blatant stalking with the police department. They're gang stalking with the people of the state. That's exactly what's engaging in surveillance. Flying off in a demon engaging in surveillance by filling up their gas tank is P.O.C. You already see the light activity. That's the entity that's going to be prosecuted comprehensively and is doing so with regard to knowledge that they're being documented. That's called conspicuous stalking. That's an unlawful threat by the government. 82270C4. And coming up to engage in touching 9CGR085. This is the Ontario Police. That's the Ontario Police. Another homosexual with bad skin. Stalking. All right? And a sex offender that wants to touch me. License plate of these two third parties are gang stalking at ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue. They're monitoring on the internet. Okay? P.O.C. They're monitoring the evidence that's going to be used against them. The people of the state are going to prison for stalking with the police. They're going to prison for kidnapping with the police. They're going to prison for criminal summoning in concert with the police. They're going to federal prison for criminal defamation with the police. All right, they're going to federal prison for ongoing harassment and terrorism and sexual violence with the police. It is 11:44 p.m. The entity flies over the top of my head after engaging what is flying in circles, stalking with amplified noise and engineer light, and then the demons engage in what is surveillance by stalking and coming and filling up your gas tank at the gas station is a means of light activity and relevant positioning. It's pathetic. It's a pathetic passive-aggressive means of stalking somebody, and they're supposed to be doing it in an unsuspicious way, in a manner that nobody can prove, and you're supposed to be looking crazy while you're making allegations that are unfounded, and the entity is looking very crazy, stalking me in the middle of the night, stalking as a whole police department, in concert with the Ontario Police. P.O.C. Just like you saw at the OVITT Family Community Library, under the fake sun at 9:55 a.m., at the same OVITT Family Community Library in engineered light. That's what they're doing right now, in engineered light. And those 2 license plates at ARCO are gang stalking with the police. That's a federal case. They're going to prison. You engage in surveillance with the police, you're going to be prosecuted with them. License 9CGR085. Okay, this is the demon with bad skin, gang stalking, and doing so with the demon that's engaging in surveillance in the white pickup truck. Again, that's license... let's see. Yeah, 82270C4. Stalking with the police. Stalking on behalf of the police. Surveillance on behalf of the police. Federal stalking in concert with the police. And again, that is a misnomer, a deceptive misnomer. This is a terrorist organization. And these stalkers are caught red-handed, and they're going to prison for what they did. And for what they're still doing, they're going to federal prison. All right, it's currently 11:45 p.m. The demons of the Ontario Police are speeding around like the psychopaths that they are, monitoring as I'm uploading everything onto YouTube. And the psychopaths, who are the people of the state, are just engaging in what is maintaining presence, making a delivery at Starbucks, light activity, relevant positioning, ongoing audible activity, coming up one demon after another, patrolling onto the property of Chevron and ARCO, stalking me in this specific environment. It is literally about me because it's an entirely abnormal, unnatural environment. That's how you're getting to what is not paranoid schizophrenia, what is not some heightened sense of being self-absorbed and thinking that everything is about you when it's really not. It actually is. This is an engineered environment, and they're all stalking, and they're all demons who are stalking. That's the reality. Okay? This is P.O.C. and it's 11:46 p.m. And these are the demons that committed kidnapping as an entity. These are the demons that committed assault with a deadly weapon, and they're still to date stalking. This is all relevant. They're going to be in court. And the duration of time that gang stalking went on, the amount of kidnappings that this entity committed, the ongoing acts of criminal defamation that this entity engaged in, the ongoing thefts, the ongoing collateral harms, taking out loans in my name, people that I haven't even ever met, people that I never documented, people that I did not know knew me in other locations, the entity that's being paid of my money and property that's been stolen from me, that's also gang stalking me. Look at the Ontario Police Department. This is all relevant to how that government's going to be prosecuted. And Mike LORENZ, the Ontario Board, the Ontario Executive Team, the Ontario Fire Department, Michael GERKEN, this is an entity that's going to be prosecuted as a government body, and this is also an entity that's going to be prosecuted as a population. All right, and this is an entity that's doing so while they are simultaneously witnessing their prosecution. Again, the demon with the bad skin, she's just sitting in her car with her thunder thighs, license 9CGR085, sitting on the brake lights while the demons are sounding helicopter activity. That's stalking with light in the path. I have multiple shadows, and she's engaging in what is begging for a federal case. That's exactly what she's going to get to. That's exactly what she's going to get. P.O.C. Ontario Police pacing back and forth. They flew over the top of my head, and now they're flying back and forth. This is the demon that wants, again, she's monitoring my vagina. She's obsessed with me. She's a homosexual. She's a gay and envious woman at the same time. She's demon possessed, and that's her obsession with me. That's her animosity toward me, because she's also listening to the truth that I'm speaking about, her bad skin, her thunder thighs, and her obsession with my vagina. It is currently 11:48 p.m. That's, again, license 9CGR085. This is P.O.C. She's engaged in federal stalking under Title 18 with the government in furtherance of murder. Stalking another woman in the middle of the night as well. Engaging in what is seeking to touch her without her consent while you're stalking her. That's a homosexual predator. And that's also a psychopath. All right, pay attention to what's happening chronologically. The entity stalking by helicopter as I document QCD. The entity stalking by helicopter again as I walk back toward Starbucks. The entity stalking by helicopter again, flying over the top of my head. The entity stalking by Ontario police in a vehicle, speeding down the street, which is right here at E Street. The entity pacing again by helicopter. This is the entity engaging in surveillance, crossing path repeatedly. P.O.C. All right, license 9CGR 085 is engaging in surveillance at the gas station, not pumping gas, just sitting in the car, stalking with a method of light, and the Ontario police are flying in the opposite direction. These are demons that are pacing. And I just took a picture of that at 11:49 p.m. And let me show you again. This is license 9CGR 085, stalking with the police, and she's doing so in furtherance of committing murder. Okay, this is no ordinary homosexual predator. This is somebody that's both obsessed with my vagina and also is lusting after death, after a murder. This is what she's acting in furtherance of, and she's doing so maliciously while she's witnessing herself being prosecuted, and she's still engaging in that. That's relevant to impunity behind conspiring murder and engaging in targeting with the state. It is currently 11:50 p.m. That's all relevant to monitoring on the internet regarding evidence about you gang stalking me with the government. It is 11:50 p.m. at ARCO, by the way, 434 North Euclid Avenue. And she's also monitoring on the ARCO Wi-Fi. Not she, and she represents an entity. This is just one demon, and then the entity is going to replace it with another demon. They maintain presence surveillance together. That's demonic. Just so that you hear that audible noise, that's demonic. It's amplified noise. Yuck. Okay, that's the entity that's engaging in what is amplified noise, and then the thunder thighs gets out of the vehicle, pacing to the trash can back and forth, which is light activity creation. Monitoring together. P.O.C. All right, she's engaged in prolonged surveillance with the state, and she's also doing so as merely she's just a hostile demon because she does have bad skin and she does have thunder thighs, and she is obsessed with my vagina, and she's also mad because I know that, and I'm telling you. It's currently 11:51 p.m. It's pathetic, and so is an agency that's stalking. And it's again, while I'm laughing at it, it's not less of a threat. The entity is going to be in a federal court, and they're going to answer for this, and I'm going to get what justice requires, and it requires disbanding. And that's again, including prison. Vivanco, Joseph Valencia, and Durham. You have C. Torres, Nathan Morgan, B. Hook, and L. Martinez. You also have L. Edwards and Alex Escobar and A. Quesada. They're going to federal prison. Aside from what is Jonathan Burnett, Sequoia of the Ontario Police, they're going to federal prison for the kidnapping in 2019. They're going to federal prison for the January 2020 kidnapping on January 13th. Jason Knighton and Lester Keys, and Melnick going to federal prison. The entities engaged in kidnapping in 2021. S. Patty, she's going to federal prison. She committed more than one kidnapping. While this entity is stalking, you see this ongoing stalking, this is what they're doing as an agency, acting like they're a police department, making up crimes that I committed so that they can be in my presence and come up with a reason for putting their hands on me and searching my property and finding, oh, you're in violation of this, you did this, and we're going to take you to jail now. And they're kidnapping. It's pursuant to targeting. And there has never been any crime committed, including while I'm sleeping at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. Okay? Because of the economic situation that this gang stalking entity has created, you saw the unlawful eviction that Tracy Banks engaged in with the Ontario Police Department. They committed that in order to create this economic circumstance so that they can target day and night while you're homeless, while you're a transient. And they also then use that to try to defame your character and state that you're unwell and you can't handle your property, and that's why you're homeless, and that's why you can't hold a job when LAPD is gang stalking me on the job. That's also creating what is this economic state. And then you're engaging in an unlawful eviction with the gang stalking police while you're gang stalking me in your apartment. Every angle of this case is already documented and proven, by the way. And the entity is stalking me day and night, and like L. Edwards is not going to federal prison. He's going to prison for kidnapping on July 4th, 2025, and for harassment at the other Starbucks on July 5th, 2025, because I'm bullying these demons intellectually with evidence that they're scared to death of. And when psychopaths are fearful, they engage in more violence. That's the threat to the national security, because millions of the Nephilim are already here. They're scared of me, and while they're scared of me, they commit more federal offenses. They're going to prison. Every single last thing that they're doing and saying, I'm going to use it against them. And they've engaged in more criminal conduct the more that I have scared the daylights out of them by prosecuting them, by pointing out to you what they're doing, because they're demons and they presuppose that nobody's supposed to know what they're doing. But not only do I know, I'm documenting it and I'm prosecuting it, and a psychopath engages in more violence. That's a threat to the public. You need to understand the severity of what the entity is doing outside of the surface of stalking me in a helicopter, which is terrorizing enough in the United States. Anywhere, even if I was in Baghdad. But this is what they're doing in the United States, though. We're supposed to be different and better, and they're not. What's in Baghdad is inspired by a spirit. Did you know that? What's happening in the United States? It's the same spirit. It's the same Satan. It's the same devil. Demon possession. And it's here thriving in the United States. We are not so civilized. We're definitely not different or better or superior. I just want to make sure that that's clear. This is an entity that's scared of the evidence that's going on the internet, and I read a list of names. Those are demons that are going to federal prison. Jonathan Burnett was gang stalking on May 19, 2020, 2019. In May of 2019, Jonathan Burnett commits a kidnapping with Sequoia at Tracy Banks' apartment in at Woodside Senior Apartments. They're committing, it's gang stalking, and they are engaged in what is targeting, surveillance inside of that apartment, and then they're engaging in what is kidnapping upon federal group stalking and monitoring. He and Sequoia are going to prison. I don't care if Sequoia joined another law enforcement agency, joined some sheriff's department in Northern California. I don't care where you're at. The federal law is going to find you. You're going to be prosecuted. You're going to prison. When you commit kidnapping as a gang stalking police officer, you're going to federal prison. That is the law. That is the law. That is what is going to happen, period. You're going to federal prison. Those are terrorists. Terrorists in America go to federal prison. You're going to federal prison for kidnappings that they have been committing since 2019. And they're still stalking in 2025. And this level of impunity, this level of conduct that I'm documenting, oh, you're just targeting like there's no consequences. Nobody forgot about what Jonathan Burnett did in 2019. That fool's going to prison, and so is Sequoia. Amongst others, Priska So and Mr. Chang, that engaged in a kidnapping through the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. Nobody forgot that. That was an exercise of fictitious authority in a court. While I was sitting in jail, you participated in a kidnapping with Judge Umada, while you're entertaining the criminal acts of this agency. And what did I say? The law is when you're kidnapping with an agency that's targeting, like the terrorists of the Ontario Police, guess where you're going? You're going to federal prison as well. You're engaging in a kidnapping in the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, in the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Oh, they're not ignorantly engaged in that. That's why I can go to that court. That's why I can go to Shannon Dykes' facilities and I capture the fake sun over the top of my head, because they're demons sharing a pattern of conduct. They're malicious, targeting demons. Malicious. And the entity that's foolishly providing a commercial for how they're engaged in targeting, they're not helping Shannon Dykes and they're not helping Lisa Rogan, the presiding demon over the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. The so-called county demon, the sheriff over the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. You're going to be prosecuted. You're going to prison. You're going to prison for kidnapping. And the entity committed kidnapping because they were fearful of my evidence, as I have been documenting since 2018, technically 2017. They committed kidnapping, and so did the sheriff, and so did the court. And you're going to prison because this is evidence against you, Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. This is evidence against you, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. You're going to prison. You're going to federal prison. And where agencies like the Ontario Police and the sheriff engage in kidnapping, that's mandating disbanding. And the entity has demonstrated the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is not needed. It's not necessary. They're not indispensable, and certainly the Ontario Police Department is not. They're not needed at all. They don't have anything else to do other than keep my vagina under surveillance. Oh, you don't have anything to do? You're not even needed. You're engaging, you're adding to criminal conduct. We don't need any more sex offenders. We need to deport the ones that are here. Those that can be deported. They don't have anything else to do. This is what their consumption, criminal surveillance, and facilitating weirdos stalking me in the middle of the night. That's what they're engaged in. That's why they're going to be removed. And so that every other demon gets the message. You gang stalk in California, get ready for prison. Get ready for that criminal record. I don't care what corner you crawl out of, get ready for prison. Because that's exactly what's coming. All right, this is an entity that's stalking in the middle of the night with a police department. That's not a police department. That's not a fire department, because they're sitting around in fire trucks waiting to engage in sounding their sirens and molesting with red and orange light. Those are demons engaging in surveillance. Monitoring me while I'm uploading the evidence. And I'm going to finish uploading it. It's 11:59 p.m. This is an entity that's focused on me, and they're focused on me because I'm the one that's exposing them, and I'm the one that's prosecuting them. All of them together. All of them for very serious criminal activity, very serious, that even goes beyond gang stalking me. Believe it or not, it goes into children that are being sexually violated. It goes to pedophilia. There is a trail of evidence that goes to what this entity is committing as a corrupt cult, if you will. These are demons, and this is corruption that has deep roots. And it's directly related to the corrupt law enforcement, the corrupt government that I'm exposing that's been targeting me. These are demons that have been engaged in, these are demons that have a predisposition to criminal conduct and corruption, which is how I'm able to capture them. Because they targeted me. So now I'm going to prosecute you. And it's relevant to what is wrong with them. They're demons. And this is all the other things that they're also engaged in. All right. It is currently, by the way, 12 a.m. on Tuesday, October 7, 2025. And I'm going to keep this as the same day because it's ongoing consistent documentation. And at the end of this, then I will start Tuesday's podcast for October 7, 2025. But because I'm already recording, I'm just going to keep on recording right now. And I'm just specifying that technicality based on my discretion of keeping the continuity of evidence, the continuity of thought because of what's going on right now. And so I will include Tuesday, October 7th will start probably in the morning. Or the entity that engages in, they fly over me stalking in the middle of the night. The podcast for Tuesday, October 7th will start then. The demon possessed are the one, that's the only thing that they lead because I document them targeting me. All right, so the demons, they come to me. They give me the evidence. It is currently 12:01 a.m. and I am documenting. I'm uploading evidence onto the ARCO, and this is inspiring the entity that, again, loses its mind. The demons that are fearful, they engage in very obvious targeting conduct that no federal court is going to look at. They're not going to look at me funny. I'll tell you that much. The judges are going to look at me like I'm the one that's imagining things. The judge is not going to speak to me as though I don't have any idea what I'm talking about. That's not what's going to happen, but it's going to be the exact opposite. Regarding prosecuting unprecedented criminal conduct and corruption by a government that thought that they can target American citizens and that those American citizens would be overwhelmed, that they would be outnumbered and outpowered. That's why you're stalking as a government. And the entity is engaging in conduct that is very, very obvious as well. Very obvious, sorely obvious, and it's going to be a matter of what is a public embarrassment and an expensive and criminal federal prosecution of the government. That's stalking at 12 o'clock. 12:02 a.m. The entity is triggered by what I stated is going to happen in court. That is what's going to happen in court. And not only that, let me go ahead and get this. Because there are no planes that are going to take off not only over the downtown luxury apartments at 320 North Euclid Avenue, in alignment to me is what is relevant, then it's making a U-turn going back in the opposite direction. This is stalking by planes. The audible noise of the plane. First of all, it's demonic, but second of all, when you're going to prosecute based on the illusions that the unintelligent demons provide, planes that are taking off from the airport are not going to be heard, and they're not going to be hovering over the apartment building, and they're not going to be miles away from the airport and then engaging what is merely making a U-turn. This is the type of stalking and harassment, the public nuisance that the Ontario International Airport commits, and it's directly relevant to what the Ontario Police Department are doing. Stalking, targeting, engaging in that conduct in the specific environment. And so let me show you what I mean by that. Here's my shadow here, and here are two different shadows on the ground. And the shadows, that's speaking to what is the light activity. It's relevant to the noise making. It's relevant to the presence in the path. Okay, Thunder Thighs with the bad skin that was gang stalking in the black vehicle. Look at the Google Drive and you'll see her. She's gang stalking by sitting, engaging in surveillance in this vehicle. And then she engaged in just standing longer because she's mad about how I was accurately describing her while she's a demon gang stalking me and being obsessed with my vagina. But this is the entity that if you're stalking me, then you should not expect to be described in any complimentary manner. I'm going to speak very frank about you, especially regarding your mental illness. This is impossible light activity. While the entity is engaging with a stalking, remember in the other video, they're flying way over there when I'm sitting at the bus bench. When I'm at the Pizza Hut, they're flying way over there. Where I am at, that's where they're staying on the south side of my person. And they came to on this side of the street. When I'm on the other side of the street, they're flying over there in alignment to me. That's why they're flying over here, making a U-turn. That has nothing to do, by the way, with any arrivals to the airport or any takeoffs from the airport. And it's also 12:04 in the morning. This is P.O.C. Gang stalking by the Ontario Board. I want to be clear. Ronald Loveridge, Julia Gu, Kurt Hagman, Jim Bowman, and Alan D. Wapner, and the Ontario executive team. That's a misnomer, a deceptive misnomer. Those are terrorists, and this is an entity that's going to be prosecuted for terrorism using an airport in furtherance of murder, targeting with the Ontario Police Department as well, maintaining aerial surveillance to harass and terrorize while they're also keeping the evidence against the government under surveillance. P.O.C. All right, I'm capturing that video right now because I wanted you to see how ridiculous the entity is. They do that every day. They do that all the time. But I have a body of evidence of that, and that's how you prosecute. You just get the defendant doing the stupid stuff, and that's how you prosecute. They give it to you, you take it. Okay, so this is an entity that's doing so I'm at the ARCO. Remember, when I'm at the Chevron, they're flying closer to the ARCO. When I'm at the bus stop, they're flying closer to Starbucks. All right, flying over the storefront, and that's exactly what you see in the image. You'll see the plane is huge. It's hovering down really low, flying next to me. And then as I document, as I start getting it on video, then the demons start stalking by helicopter as I get QCD. Then they pull out the helicopter activity, but the Ontario police were stalking the whole time. They just engage in what is stalking with a helicopter as I begin documenting. Sex offense, sexual assault and battery, license 8JXY667. That's a sex offender touching while stalking. That's the Ontario police molesting my body. That's the Ontario International Airport. Every demon on that board and executive team, they're engaging in sexual violence as an entity. All right, every license plate that I read, every business, they're sharing in sexual violence. They are all going to be prosecuted together as engaging in that conduct as one. While they're engaging in that conduct, while they are obsessively stalking me. That's a freak weirdo that's out over here stalking me and wants to make sure that they're surrounded with light to touch me. That's the reality. They're not even interested in actually filling up gas. They're going to the ARCO gas station because Erica's over there. That's the reality. That's the mentally ill. License 9DHA956 P.O.C. It is currently also, let me get the time, East Street and Euclid, and the current time is where I'm subject to a sex offense by a demon that's pacing around going to the ARCO, pacing around. They'll be on surveillance cameras. They're engaging in what is criminal conduct, and the business of ARCO is going to be used to prosecute them. It's none of its legitimate business. It's all going to be used. This is the entity that has, I'm telling you, when I say surrounded, I mean surrounded. That which the entity sought to use as a guise of, oh, it's normal, nothing to see here, folks, is exactly the evidence that's going to be used to prosecute them. All right, but again, these are demons, so they don't apply any brain power. They're literally psychopaths that just pace around monitoring the subject, okay? So the subject is a federal prosecutor, and I'm leading them to an end, okay? So it's 12:07 a.m., and this is P.O.C. I'm going to document the entity ongoing terrorism as I upload the video evidence.